herd.
Then what is this thing?
Gio should never play for U.S. men's national team again because of the action of his parents.
What an idiot! Oh!
What type of Muppet does this?
It's Muppets. Absolute Muppets.
I'm not going to be the best person to give a whole explanation here, but that's...
Booty! Sick! Booty!
Fucking deal with it.
What are we really doing?
Yeah.
I can agree with that. Throw a zebra in between a tarantula and an elephant.
Has been nothing more than a sham.
Yeah, we didn't play well, but you know what? At the end of the day, we got the job done.
It's going to be a good time for sure.
Oh, sex with the first cousin would indeed be incest. And
Alrighty, welcome to the Straight Red Card. Today with us, of course, is the Honorable Pete from 11Yanks. Thanks for coming back. So we could run the show in a competent fashion, because the last time I had you on, like the whole first 20 minutes of the show is lost because I'm an idiot, right?
I mean, I don't know. I had a great time last time, but it's always fun coming back.
Anyhow, today's sponsor, by the way, is KY. KY. When your stepsister is into pegging, we recommend KY. Brett and EB approve this, by the way, and also Brett uses it when he meets our super chatters in public.
Only the heavy hitters, $5 and above, guys. Come on.
Right, in public places for the reach arounds, and of course I use it with my sex doll. So we totally approve of KY, although secretly I prefer Vaseline. All right, anyhow.
There goes that. Sponsor.
I do need to make a few corrections, Pete, before we get started. Number one, we were trying to remember the name of that supporters group in Indianapolis. It was Slaughterhouse 5. That's the book by Vonnegut. Okay.
I still don't believe the 5 number. I think that must have changed recently because that doesn't sound familiar.
Okay, well, whatever. It's not Fahrenheit 451. That's by Ray Bradbury. And as an English lit dude, all right, I should know that. Period.
Come on.
End of the story. And by the way, I want to give bonus points to Brian DeMarco. Brian, if you're not already here, sorry you're not hearing this, but the bonus point was you actually knew the name of German pizza. Okay, it's called Flammenkuchen, and you nailed it, brother, in the chat.
Kind of dirty. I think there's a movie on Pornhub about that.
Flammenkuchen. Yes,
yeah,
it's like a pizza with like a creamy cheese sauce covered in bacon and onions. It's really, really, really good. And then I was saying my mom didn't know what that was because
it's called Lammenkuchen?
Flammenkuchen.
Flammen, and it's German, I'm guessing.
Yes, it is. My mom, who's
I can impress my girlfriend, being like, "Babe, we're having some Flammenkuchen tonight." Like,
you're probably gonna get slapped if you say that out loud. I'm just gonna say.
But the thing about Flammenkuchen is it's made in sort of the Alsace-Lorraine area of Germany, sort of like on the border with France. So it's actually kind of French too, which is why my mom didn't have any clue what it was. I mean, she's a Bavarian. She lived in Berlin her whole life before marrying my dad and moving to the United States, and et cetera, et cetera. So
real quick on Bavarians. Yeah. According to my girlfriend, nobody in Germany likes the Bavarians. They're like the Texans of Germany. Although I think people like Texans just fine.
It's because they win too much. I think it's that's part of the problem with Bayern München, right? Yuck, those guys. But my whole family are Prussian. My mom is, and the whole family was from Prussia before Prussia doesn't exist anymore, right? After World War I and World War II, there is no more Prussia. In fact,
Kaiser.
Right. My ancestors' home is now in what is modern day Poland. So, that's the thing. Also, what else did I have to square away? I had another thing to square away before we moved on. Oh, I think that's it. Somebody asked me, Pete, whether or not I'd already told you how to pronounce Eupen. Have I told you how to pronounce Eupen?
Well, I guess you did just now.
Oh, no, I thought I already had.
No, I hadn't heard that. I've been calling it Eupen.
Now it's fair enough, yeah.
Okay.
Well, you won't ever have to worry about pronouncing it ever again, guys.
Right. So it must have been Tack. We had Tact on, a month ago, and I was like, Tack, you got to start saying Eupen, because it's Eupen. Kind of like the song TNT by AC/DC. Oi, 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 TNT. I'm dynamite. TNT. I'm going to win that fight. TNT. I'm a power load. You know that song? Great song.
I don't know it, but it sounds like it slaps.
It did slap. That's back when the older singer was there. Not the newer, not the guy that's been around since the 80s. It was the original singer who also did Dirty Deeds, Done Dirt Cheap, and all those other great ACD songs from the old days. He died of, I think, alcoholism. I think he actually just drank too much. All right. That's all I got. I was going to give people a recipe, but I'm going to skip for spaghetti aglio olio pepperoncino. But I think we bullshitted enough because you got more, Brett, if I am right. By the way, how are things going, Pete? How did the shoot down in Mexico go? Let's get that done.
Honestly, it was one of the most stressful shoots I've had in like
Drug cartels. I get it.
16-hour days, crack a dog. Like people are like, "Oh, you're in Cancun, you're having a blast." Yeah, I wish. First of all, I got one. No, like of course it's always fun to be like doing what I love, which is acting. But I only got one day off, and it was written into my contract that I was not allowed to go out in the sun because it would, I would get burned and it would ruin the shoot.
Right.
So I couldn't even go out on my day off. I was stuck in the hotel. It sucked.
Well, I understand that, right?
You were in the pool at night, right?
Well, as soon as the sun would go down, I didn't even want to go in the pool. I wanted to go out on the town and try like food and, like get a feel for what it's like out there. So I went to this great Yucatan restaurant called Tuch, had some amazing food, amazing drink. That was one night that I was just like bliss. The rest of the time, 7 hours, 7 a.m. call time. So we get to set at 7 a.m. They pick us up from the hotel. And then we wouldn't get back to the hotel till like 10:30 at night and just exhausted, the collapse on your bed. So it was literally just work. It was a blast, of course. But it's not all it's cracked up to be.
Is this another cop role for you or is something else?
Yes. ATF agent, the special agent, Peter Blake.
You are getting so typecast. This is not cool.
Yeah.
You're like, only job.
Next time
you can do as a cop.
Next time,
role.
shave your head, you might be able to go for one of the cartel guys down there instead.
Even then, I would just look like either a cancer patient or a wannabe monk. That's the problem. My face does not suit being bald. I'm praying to all the gods that I keep my hair a little while longer because I look horrific without hair.
Me too. I'm with you.
I'm this close to shaving it all off, but I guess it works for it.
But also, you can grow a full beard. I can't, so that's worse. I think if you're bald but you have a beard, you maintain a sense of like. Still a man, you know what I mean?
Well, that's a problem. You sacrifice the top of your head because it just migrates south is the problem.
Right, but you have something. If I shave my head, I've got this like bum fluff, it just doesn't really scream. So thank God I still have hair. We'll see how long this lasts.
Yeah, we got to look into your DNA a little to figure out why you're having a hard time growing a beard because that shouldn't be an issue, I would think, usually.
I mean, I can grow it. It's just very patchy and ugly.
Yeah.
Let's say, friend of the show, Chad. He can't grow a beard.
You don't have hair on your back, though, right?
A few strands here and there.
So bonus. I mean, that's the thing. If you can't grow a beard, you're probably not generally very hairy.
I would say my beard is continually growing south too. So
yeah. My chest is not that hairy. So
any nude scenes? By the way, in
this shoot, no, God no.
Yeah.
The good thing about being a cop is there's not a lot of nudity usually.
That's why I was telling you need to try out for the Boogie Nights 2 movie, right? Boogie Nights 2. Get to do. You're not opposed to doing nude scenes, right? If they paid you enough.
Yeah, and if it's like important to the story, but
it's just, of course, it better be.
Yeah, like you know what I mean. The good thing about being a man is there's very rarely gratuitous nudity for men.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like they're rarely like we need to see some dick root. It's like so. It's mostly like if a man does have to get nude, it actually serves the story. So I guess
you hate.
I mean, she's not gonna fuck herself, right?
Yeah, exactly.
A
love scene mostly.
You'd hate to wake up in the morning for the morning shoot and the director pops in and goes, "Hey, by the way, Pete, before we get going here, I need you to strip all the way down."
That has been tried. Not that specifically, but they have tried taking liberties with me in the past.
Was it a Harvey Weinstein video or movie?
No, thankfully not him. He was mostly focused on the fairer sex. But it has been tried at times where they're like, oh, we know it's written this way in the script, but would you be comfortable with ... And I'm like, no. And they're like, oh, that's fine. That's fine.
Wow. That's crazy, Pete. You know, everything we do hear about the movie business, then there is a whole and a lot of truth about that, isn't there? It's kind of creepy space. Oh, God. Okay. Well, that gave me the willies. Glad I never.
Maker wants to know if you can tell us the name of the movie, Pete.
I signed an NDA, so I actually can't. But it's a mafia movie. I'm the ATF agent that's investigating. It's located in Miami, but they shot in Cancun. I guess it was cheaper.
You got your answer, Jack.
I'm not allowed to say much more than that, but don't expect to see it on the big screen. Production quality was fine, but it's probably going to end up in streaming. It's not going to be
Well, that's the way most things are going nowadays, anyways, right?
And if people don't know, an NDA is a non-dick agreement. So
yes, I was like, I'm not showing any dick root, guys.
All right, I'll read the turd to get us started. Turd in the background says, "Welcome back to the Straight Red Card. Joined today by 11Yanks. Make sure to go live on time. What are the Copa expectations? I'm not sure. But as long as we play like freaking dogs. Yay! Woo!
I'm honestly kind of surprised, Turd. That's an entire comment that didn't include your wife. It's good.
Yeah, nothing about your wife.
Things must be going good at the home.
Have you heard anything from Michael Cameraman lately, Pete?
I have not heard from him, no.
Have we burnt that bridge for you?
I think I burned it myself just by daring to have an opinion. You know?
Well, that's true. But it was funny when he was telling you, I know the nickname, dude. I get the nickname. Do you remember? I think he had that conversation with you.
Oh, yeah. No, he was complaining about you guys.
Yes.
Me coming on your show and calling him the turd. And like, well, that's quite the nickname you gave me. And I was like, actually, not to rat him out, but I can't take credit for that. That was those boys' nickname. And he's like, let's have a phone call to talk about it. I was like, sure, call me. I even sent him my number, radio silence.
Yeah.
I've always said it. If he was smart about the situation, he would come on to one of our shows with one of our turd in the background t-shirts.
Yeah.
He'd be the one or two people that have purchased that shirt. That would be funny.
Embrace it, right?
Yes, it'd be fun.
Embrace it. Especially if you're in marketing. Hello.
Got to have a sense of humor about yourself, so hug it like a teddy bear. That's what I'd say.
It'd be even funnier if he made his own shirt and then plugged where you can go and buy that t-shirt at.
Yeah, exactly.
That would have been great.
Yeah.
It was like when, Jesus was getting the El Pirata treatment during Gold Cup. If he had scored a goal and then did like a pirate celebration.
Oh, that would have been great.
Well,
Captain
Morgan
beloved to the fan base just for having a sense of humor. You know what I mean? Like, I think you should embrace it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Or whipped like an eye patch out of his pocket or his sock and put it on.
Yeah.
That would have been badass. I would have been call this guy up every time.
He could have held
on to the corner flag like Jack Sparrow does at that very intro scene when he comes into the screen, holding on to the flag mast.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to some more fluff.
All right. A few fluff pieces.
Can you quickly pull up Chris Johnson's comment there?
Anyone listen to Scuff today? Gregg Velasquez spent more time attacking U.S. men's national team fan base than providing any meaningful analysis. Those guys have gone down the poop chute.
I used to listen to them every week for years.
Yeah.
And then right about the last cycle, I think right around that Nations League Gold Cup, I couldn't take it anymore.
They came up on somebody pulled them up on Twitter and was making a comment about them, and there's a lot of heat around that. I just can't remember what the actual topic was about, but I knew it included them.
It did. Somebody was saying that they're basically sellouts or something like that, and I don't know if that's true. I didn't comment that. Yes, I can confirm that. I just said, yeah, I'm hearing a lot of that lately. Kind of weird. I stopped watching them, so I don't know. I really don't. At some point, like Pete, I'm like, I can't take this anymore. This is going the wrong way.
So once Matt Doyle and Andrew Wiebe joined their Patreon, their tone changed. Like there was a lot of, like getting mad at people for not wanting Sebastian Lletget on the team. Like, that whole last cycle defending, Roldan had that like terrible performance in the December friendly against like some was it Slovenia C or something? And then, you know, they were like, oh, he actually played pretty good, even though he was terrible. Like there was just a lot of like talking points that were being propped up. And I was like, oh, I know what this is now. Whether they believe it or not, I don't know, but I couldn't take it anymore.
I couldn't take it. You know, that's a crazy thing. I mean, we just had Alexi on our show. Had a great, over 2 hours.
I watched that one night while I couldn't sleep. I watched the whole thing. It was great.
Thanks.
It was a fun show.
It was amazing, but it doesn't mean, and nobody has accused us of being sellouts, because I don't think just because we now like him, like as a person, I don't know his politics. Whatever. I'm not talking about politics or anything like that. But the fact that he was brave enough to come on this show after I had a phone call with him prior, because we had to settle out the fact that I had called him multiple names on multiple occasions. He's like, dude, don't worry about that. People call me way worse than that. It's okay. And so he came on. We had a great show. And, he didn't really shill, really. He didn't shill on our show. He's like, yeah, maybe Gregg was the wrong guy. Maybe I did make a mistake. And that was refreshing to hear. You don't have to sell out just because now you are connecting with bigger people or bigger names or whatever. You shouldn't have to sell out. I don't know if that's going on with Scuff, but that's kind of what the intimation was. But
I think sometimes, and I'm not saying necessarily Scuffed is doing this, but I do think sometimes people are afraid to say what they think because you guys are in this business with it. You know what it's like. People get mad at you for expressing your opinion. Like there are some fierce comments, right? And if you take that personally, which some people can, personally I don't, or I try not to mostly, it's not going to stop me from saying what I think. But there are people who'll be like, let's try to like go right down the middle and not really have too strong of an opinion so nobody's really mad at us. The problem is when you do that, nobody can take you seriously because you're being a pussy. You're not saying what you think. You're not having a strong opinion. Even if you're wrong, stand, like what's that old like boomer phrase? If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. I personally never understood the difference between standing for something and falling for it. But, that concept of like, say what you think, be who you are, like be genuine. That's what I don't like disingenuous people.
Right. My favorite is get off my lawn.
I feel like Derek,
how many times a week do you say that on average?
Well, in so many different ways. How high are you
on a scale of 1 to 10?
Not literally speaking, because he has no lawn personally, but
right now I have a very small lawn, and I like that. All right. No, I don't. I say it in various different
the curb
ways.
Doesn't count, Derek. Come on.
I am. Well, I would say I'm probably one of the biggest dicks on X. There's no.
That's the thing that gets me is that Derek and I are vulgar. We say ridiculous things all the time, but we don't have any hatred or stalkers coming our way. The closest thing we have is Colin.
Yeah, but Colin's at everyone's stalker now, right? And he keeps blocking and unblocking me.
He called Derek a pussy today.
He'll unblock me to like hate on me and then quickly block me again before I can respond.
He called me a pussy today?
You didn't
see that?
I
was watching that exchange.
Totally called you a pussy.
You're bullies. He calls everybody a bully. If you don't agree with him, you're a bully.
I have him, what's that called? Not blocked, but muted. So there you go.
Did you reply to him today, though?
Oh, by the way, because he lives in the Los Angeles area, okay?
You think he's a great guy, right?
And, jokingly, I've always joked around with tackling. It'd be hilarious if I bumped into him one day. And I'm at the gym the other day in the small town, the corner of LA where I live, which I don't want to advertise in case he's watching. But I'm at the gym, and I look over at the whatever it's called, fucking thing you run on.
Treadmill,
thank you. And there's this guy that's like bald, bearded, kind of like,
Brett.
And I'm like, wait. Yeah. And I was like, no. And he was looking at me. He was kind of like oddly looking at me. And I was like, I swear to God, if that's Colin, So I like looked around for like a weapon just in case. Is that a 5-pound weight I can hurl at him maybe?
Was it the Viking dude or whatever that's now on Twitter all over the place?
Which guy?
He's got like the full beard, bald head, but he wears like the short shorts.
That guy might be more dangerous than Colin, honestly.
All right. That's crazy. All right. So thank you, Dan W., for that comment.
Not Adam, but Velasquez was alluding to comments Pete made. What? I got to listen to this episode now.
Really? Okay.
Did he mention me by name, or did he say like the YouTubers, because that's how sometimes people.
I wonder if it was similar to what like Lawless did whenever Mossy brought up Tact and said, "Well, those guys you were talking about, they're soulless, etc."
Yeah,
like maybe he didn't necessarily say you by name, but maybe alluded to a comment, or maybe the comment was pulled up. I don't know.
By the way, Velasquez owes me a mea culpa because we had a huge screaming bitch fight on Twitter that literally the entire of USMNT Twitter got involved in. People that weren't following me or I didn't even know were posting their opinion about Pete's Sebastian Leggett takes. And, and then I was trying to say, like, this guy is shit. Why are we shilling for him? And then within 2 months, everybody wanted him off. Everybody. It was after that Panama game where I think Panama away. And Zippo, silence. No, like, yeah, Pete was right. It was just like, quickly sulk off into the darkness, which I didn't need. But like, if you want to come at me for comments, you have some major stuff to like backtrack on.
I agree. So I saying, why have you muted him? Are you scared of him? You must not know him. That's all I will say. There's only so much commentary I can take. It's not being afraid of him. No, I don't. Like Pete, I don't live anywhere near Colin Reese. Yeah. And I'm not afraid of him at all. I just, there's only so much negativity in my day that I can put up with. Or it's not really negativity. It's just like comments that I don't really want to deal with because they're not I don't know, they're not important. They're
not important. And the person, like, there are some comments that you're like, the levels of stupid that you had to be to type that out. It's not worth my time to engage.
Yes. And I got tired, and he targeted me for a long time, and he was constantly posting on my stuff. And I'm like, okay, listen, I'd just rather not see it. That doesn't mean everybody else can't see it. They can see it. So it's not like he's disappeared. I just don't want to see it. There you go. All right. Go ahead, Brett. Sorry.
All right. Let me pull up the speaking of no, they're not shows, but let's go with some music talk that you had tagged me and Derek.
Yeah.
Which band is the greatest impact on rock history?
I mean, really none of them.
Rock history is a 90s kid or something? I
mean, nobody's going to, in the long run, really remember Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, or even Oasis. They might remember Nirvana, but that was just like a short shot, right? That was like how many years we actually get with Nirvana. Was it huge? It was way huger than Pearl Jam ever was, or Alice in Chains, or Oasis ever was in the world. But I don't really think they're making that big of an impact on rock history.
Pearl Jam has everybody on this just based off longevity, quite frankly. But
that's what it takes.
Yeah. I mean, you stay around for 30, 40 years, I guess.
Even flow. Come on.
But no, I mean, again, which I guess they're specifying between these 90s bands, which had a bigger impact on rock history. Not necessarily the biggest impact of all time, but
on rock history.
You gotta pick one.
Well, I'm gonna pick Nirvana, of course. They changed music. There wouldn't even be okay. I'm not gonna say wouldn't have been a Pearl Jam without Nirvana, but I think Nirvana started that whole movement, So without them, then after that, everybody was signing every Seattle West Coast band they could find that was playing grunge, right? That was Nirvana with the first biggest dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I mean, without that, and then whatever else came after it, I think it's got to be Nirvana. If I had to pick, if you're forcing me to pick one, Pete?
What? Yeah.
Boy, gosh. So here's where I have to like own up to some shit. I never really listened to any of these bands because, hear me out.
Oh, sorry.
My parents were deeply religious. And growing up, remember, this was the 90s. A lot of Christians, especially conservative Christians, thought that rock music was satanic and that it was a form of Satan worship. I wasn't actually allowed to listen to a lot of like heavy metal or rock music.
Wow.
Like, I got caught listening to Queen one time. Like, We Will Rock You, about as innocent a song as you could possibly have. Right. And they were like, oh, why are you listening to that? It's a gay band. Like, Jesus. No, I'm serious. Like, that's just how we understand the level of, like, weirdo religious freaks that they were.
Wow.
So I didn't really get to listen, although I hear Nirvana's awesome. I probably should listen to them at some point.
Well, you definitely should. Probably all of their first. There's only 3 albums, legitimately. There might be, you could say 4 because other shit came out, but you got Bleach and you got what's the other one, Brett? Come on, help me out. I would go out and buy them. Definitely.
I was never a big fan of Nirvana, just because not that I didn't like their music. I did, but they were overplayed ridiculously, and I got tired of it real quickly.
Yeah. Well, I was in college. It was 1994 when 93, 94, when this shit came out and just blew everybody away. And it was something you could listen to on the radio and go, I don't have to puke. It's not a boy band. Thank God. Sure. So there you go. In Utero was the last official real album while Kurt was still alive. Correct. And that had some nasty ass great shit on it. All right. Never mind. It's the other one. Correct. And then there's an EP really early on with like 6 songs on it with I'm a negative creep when I'm stoned. I don't know who's a negative creep when they're stoned. I'm more negative when I drink. But anyhow.
Well, the 4 bands that are mentioned here, 2 of them had deaths, had suicides.
Right. Alice in Chains. Yep.
Pearl Jam, obviously, like I said, is still going on.
Even flow.
I think Eddie Vedder more so than actual Pearl Jam itself. And then Oasis are 2 brothers that hate each other that they couldn't get past, an album or 2 or whatever it was. But I mean, they're massive albums, but
yeah.
But it's funny that you're looking at this going like, man, these are short-lived bands.
Yep.
As a whole. Yep. I would, even though I'm not a huge fan of Nirvana, I would say they had the biggest impact simply because of the impact they initially had and then the death that occurred.
Yep. That was huge news. Right during the OJ thing too. Right around them. All right.
In a similar fashion, what's your favorite song that you hate with all your heart?
Well, I already mentioned it on this post, so I don't know. Listen, if I were naming old modern songs, there'd be all kinds. There's like that song that says Gucci like 1,000 times. Gucci, 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 Gucci. I hate that song because he says.
Pretty sure that's not how that goes, Derek.
Whatever. He says it 55 times in a row. But if I'm going back to the old times, it's "We built this city on rock and roll." Horrible song. Just a horrible song. Anyway.
Stop Thumping by Chumbawamba for me.
That's bad too. That is a really good pick.
Oh.
Pete, got a horrible song?
Oh man, I don't have a horrible song, okay? But what I do have is like rah-rah songs that you turn on in a bar and everybody loses their freaking mind. I just think that they're like disproportionate to the quality of the actual song. Not that the song itself, okay, let Beyonce, All the Single Ladies. That comes on in a bar. Every white girl in a short dress, oh my God, right? And they all get up there and I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. So that's one example. And for men, Eye of the Tiger, I think is the one that comes on in a bar. Look, it's a great song, but I don't need to see a bunch of like 39-year-old men trapped in marriages they don't like all of a sudden get excited that they have some power in their life when this song comes on. That's what it feels like to me when everyone gets excited about
you're right.
song. And I know that's super harsh and judgmental. Or
And
like Sweet Caroline, blah, blah, blah. You hear a bunch of drunkards in a bar sing that, and you're like, oh, God.
Yeah, it's too bad because it's not really a bad song on its own. Like Sweet Caroline on its own. Before it's sung at every baseball and soccer stadium, or half of them. Yeah, that's unfortunate. It's like Seven Nations Army. First time I ever heard it on David Letterman live, I thought, this is a great song. But now when I hear, don, 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 I'm like, I can't. Yeah, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every stadium around the world.
Yeah.
What is that song?
Don't Stop Believing. There you go, Spencer Doherty.
Don't stop. Yeah.
Oh, it's a fitting song. It's a fitting song in certain locations. Like I don't know if this band actually gets around to the West Coast by any means. I know they're more of a Midwest type thing, but there's a band that does Hairbangers Ball here, and they do all like 70s and 80s like Hairbanger Ball like songs. All like Don't Stop Believing, that type of shit. But it's when you're listening to this group that has like the the long 80s hair and everything like that, and they're playing these iconic songs that you're like normally would flip through on the radio for, you just can't help but sing with them. I don't know what
I
it is.
guess. All right.
It
All
just
right.
depends on the location. At a random bar, no, fuck off.
I get it. I get it.
On the radio, change it.
Yeah. All right. Next.
All right.
Might want to start getting to soccer. Oh,
Yeah, I'll get to soccer when I want to get to soccer, Derek.
all right.
Ooh.
Candace Owen says ban pornography. It's psychological weapon intended to weaken.
There goes our show.
men.
Fuck.
Freedom of speech, says Destiny. You're not going to be able to ban pornography. We're way past that. I mean, it is a psychological issue for some men. If they're spend all day whacking it, yes, for 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8 times a day. No, that's not good. They need to get out of the house and meet a real woman. But other than that, I mean, you can't ban it. That's ridiculous.
I just love extremism. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, this thing done too much can be bad. We should ban it.
Right.
Hello, that's everything in life, almost.
Yeah.
You know? But also, she has a point. It does weaken men. Like, if you get so addicted to porn, which many men do nowadays, especially I think kids, that was their first sexual experience, was watching porn when they were like 9, or, you know, because every kid has a phone now. Then, yeah, I agree. It can really ruin your libido. You know what I mean? But on the other hand, no, you can't just ban it.
Any addiction is bad. Let's just put it that way.
Yes.
If you are addicted to washing your hands, that's probably bad. If you're washing your hands 50 times a day, that's probably going to affect your life. Jerking off 50 times a day, not going to be good, right? So, yeah, addiction in general, not a good thing. But banning it, you can't ban it. That's like we got to the point where, you know, if you peed in public and were arrested, you got arrested for public exposure and then had to go on the
sex offender list.
The sex offender list. And that's where we've crossed the line into, like, you're not making sense anymore.
Yeah.
The dude was taking a piss. All right. So, all right. Bro, Cinemax was all we had. It was called Skinemax, Johnny. Yeah. Skinemax, not Cinemax. We had
it was always like channel 99 on regular TV, and you could just see the scrambledness. Like, oh, wait a second, what's that over there? You know.
Yeah.
I do think there is like a little bit too easy to access porn, though.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean? Like, it's on every phone. Like,
you just have to frequent Twitter, and you can see all you need.
Yeah,
to see.
it's literally on Twitter. Oh, that's my favorite. You tweet something out about, like, what's John Brooks up to? My nudes in bio. I'm like, bitch. I started responding to them. I'm like, now isn't the time, Courtney. You know,
I love watching my notifications get hit. And I look and I see all the likes, and I'm just looking. And I go, "There's no chance that she watches soccer."
Yeah, or have you ever seen one of those like just kind of sexual tweets? But it's not really sexual, but it's like about sex, right? All of a sudden, like the first 12 comments are like OnlyFans girls' pictures or videos of them like I suck dick, and you're like, oh my god, Jesus Christ! They're one after the other.
No, I get them. I get them all the time because I often use the word lube.
As if on cue. As if on cue. They're listening to our show. Here's April.
Oh, there you go.
Kutri says I get Asian women trying to friend me because I put up a few tweets.
All right, what do we got next, Brett? Oh my goodness.
Let's move on to some sports news, guys, because we talked about enough fluff. It's 34 minutes into the show. Are you guys familiar with the Twitter handle Foodie Scran?
Which one?
Footy Scran.
They
talk about all the food at stadiums.
That guy. Okay.
Usually, like, you're looking at all the European ones, and like they have this overflowing, delicious smorgasbord worth of thing. Like, oh, it only cost me like €4, and you look at what we get, and you're like, what the hell's wrong with us?
Yeah, just like a half a dirty churro for $25.
But the good news is, guys, as Americans, we don't have it the worst. Apparently, in New Zealand, it is awful. Only for 17 New Zealand dollars, you can get this chicken sandwich.
Yeah, that's just pitiful. And it looks like a turd.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
that's American cheese with a little piece of chicken and like 45 pounds of bread.
Oh,
yeah. That's pretty atrocious. I would take that one back.
Oh, my goodness.
Ooh.
That shouldn't be legal.
That's pretty bad.
So, I mean, come on. I mean, we don't have it so bad, guys.
You know, it's not fair, though. If that was, like, I'll bet you look at that, people might be going, what the fuck, or LOL. But if that was American, the responses would be, "This is why Americans ruin everything. Get the fucking wanking Yanks out of the game." You know what I mean? But if it's New Zealand that comes with that trash, they're like, LOL, you know?
Yeah. Well, expectations, I guess, huh? All right. What else
And then you get something like this. Look at that. How about this? Look at that. That'd be worth the €8 that chicken sandwich would cost.
What is that?
Looks like bratwurst.
Some kind of a bratwurst, but those look like red pepper flakes, ketchup, I guess, and some coleslaw on the side.
Mm-hmm.
It could be better. I mean, it's not awful, but
I'm sure it tastes delicious. Maybe.
If you say
it looks like a kebab, maybe in a hot dog bun.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure. It was kind of small. That's what she said. All right.
So I know it's been a hot moment, and I know we haven't talked about the U.S. Open Cup in a while. First off, let's go Indy 11.
Woo! We're still in it. We're still in it.
Where the hell it is?
We may not have a team next year or the year after that, but we're still in it.
Wait, didn't you guys, some billionaire, just buy you guys up?
Not yet, but we.
Well, it depends on which story you're talking about. A billionaire has become a part investor with the current Indy 11 team, yes. And there's also a current billionaire that's aiming to bring an MLS team to MLS or to India.
Right.
So
okay, they're billionaires on the other. So Pete, there's two sides to this. You've got Ursel with Indy 11, who just hooked up with a billionaire, not a big one, but a billionaire.
And he's a millionaire with a billionaire friend.
And yeah, Ursel's just a millionaire. And then on the other side, you got Clear Lake Capital, okay, with Todd Bowley, Mark Walters, let me see, Herb Simon from the Pacers, and Jose Feliciano and Baydag Agbali. These are all billionaires. So you got 6 billionaires versus a billionaire and a millionaire. The 6 billionaires are going to win. And then recently the Indianapolis, what do you call that? Brett, the council passed and approved Simon, the owner of the Pacers, who's part of this group, buying a whole big ass lot of land in Indianapolis to build a stadium. So they're moving forward. Without Ursel. They made an offer to Ursel. They offered him 4% for the branding, for the name, so they could keep it all. Ursel refused. And so they're just going to go probably start a club called Indy United or something stupid like that. Yeah,
they've already got the
United
copyright
FC
for
soccer club.
I was going to say Sporty Indianapolis United FC.
Well, they already bought IndyFC.com online. They already bought it. So I hope that's not as lame.
They're just going into big, good quality USL markets now and trying to ruin them.
Well, we've been on this show. We've been saying that all the way back when we had our show on Big Soccer. We were telling people this is what's going to happen. MLS is why. And then this is another thing we didn't confront Lawless on. Like we forgot to say, hey, why'd you call our friend Solus? We forgot that. And we forgot the other thing, which was, hey, why you keep saying MLS is going to buy or should buy USL? Why in the fucking Christ would they do that when they could just pluck the teams they want and make those teams pay them $600 million to get in their league? Why would they go out and spend $600 million to buy USL when they can make $6 million every other year or every year plucking teams from markets? I mean, what kind of sense does that even make, Lawless? Come on, man. Come on.
And then people get mad when you don't support MLS.
Yeah, I mean, obviously all of us have MLS teams that we follow. Unfortunately for the two of you, it's Chicago.
Don't worry, Pete, we're going to get into Chicago in just a little bit. I actually do have a Chicago topic for us to talk about. But
yeah,
speaking of which,
you guys are both idiots for sticking with that team. I'm just going to say.
I stopped watching them this season again.
Well, there's not much to watch, is there?
Yeah, and he's still there. That's what's so funny. Klopas is still in charge.
I can't believe
is
that.
still there.
It's a clown
show at this point.
But
regardless, we're not here to talk about Chicago just yet. We're talking about MLS and how they handled with the U.S. Open Cup and all that whole debacle that we talked about many months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, MLS has worked out some marketing magic to make sure that you cannot see that. Let me zoom up on this real quick.
Okay. That's what she said. Oh, wrong direction. There we go.
Too far. There we go. So U.S. Open Cup says 2024 Open Cup quarters, semis, and finals to stream free on MLS Season Pass on Apple TV.
Wow.
Where was it before? It was like on YouTube and on MLSsoccer.com.
CONCACAF.com.
Predominantly
too.
YouTube. There's some showing some Paramounts as well. But
So,
yeah.
do you guys think a non-MLS team could win it?
Well, I hope Indy 11 wins it, but
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
The starting 11 plus 4 are always going to be better than what's in USL.
But aren't the MLS teams not bringing their like DPs and first team? Or are they going to change that now that it's streaming on Apple? They're going to be like, oh, we changed our mind.
Well, we're in the quarters, semis, and finals. I mean, the quarters not necessarily, but semis and finals, you'll see first teamers guaranteed.
Yeah, you will. You will. They'll bring first team.
The possibility of getting the Champions League spot plus the $300,000 that they're going to get for winning it is going to be enough for them to warrant bringing more or less a first squad.
I would imagine most of the MLS teams will bring at least 70 to 80% full squads for even the quarters at this point.
But there's only like 3 left, right?
Right.
Non-MLS, yes.
Because NYCFC 2 fell. Well, that doesn't really count, right? Or San Jose just lost as well. So
they did, yeah.
But there's still enough of them out there that it's going to make it really difficult for anybody else.
There's only 3 non-MLS teams right now.
Yeah.
So, but it's an upward tick though. I mean, every year's kind of been increasing when it comes to the quarters as far as the non-MLS sides.
Yeah.
We'll see, but I don't think a USL side's going to take it by any means. I think there's still enough talent. Obviously, there's definitely enough talent on the starting 11s plus 4, like I said. But I think there's enough talent there that it's going to just dominate them.
It's enough.
Not really dominate, but enough to beat them.
I mean, we could see a couple more upsets, but I'm not counting on it. I don't see a Rochester Rhinos situation happening here.
Indy 11 are playing Atlanta. Stepwise, not really.
Yeah, hard to say. I mean, go Indy 11. I hope they win the whole thing.
That would be so funny if they win the whole thing and then get disbanded.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that'd
be the thing, right? MLS would come to Indy, USL they would fold, or Indy 11 would fold, and then what would happen with that Champions League spot?
Well, here's the other thing.
Awarded to Messi and co.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The real issue here is the Indy 11 also has a first division women's team. And so, that's difficult for them because if they fold all together, then goes the first division women's team, which would be horrible. Or do they somehow hold on to that, and keep that around even though, or do they try to just stick it out in USL even though there's an MLS team in the neighborhood? Like, this will be really interesting to see what happens, but more than likely they're going to San Diego it, Loyal it. They're going to shut down shop. Yeah.
If they got the women's team, they could look to doing more or less a pure academy type team. It wouldn't be in the championship by any means. Maybe they drop down to like USL 1 or even 2 for that matter. But you'd still have something there that you could probably pull in a good 3,000 or 4,000 people to.
It's probably not worth it for Ursel. Ursel, like Brett and I know Ursel. Ursel, from day one of this discussion, when this team was created, was all about getting to MLS. That's all he ever wanted to do.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That was the goal from day one.
The Indy Fire team is now the Indy 11 Academy team. They're no longer the Indy Fire team, which is funny because that was the big concern was the Indy Fire, which is based out of Westfield and Carmel area of Indianapolis, which is where all the money is. They were originally an Indy Fire Academy satellite club.
Yeah.
But then if Indy's going to get an MLS team, that would definitely be a conflict in the academy rights. So they're going to lose that regardless.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Not a huge, massive talking point by any means, but Peter, are you familiar with States United?
I am becoming familiar with them over the past few days.
Holy Moses. Well, can I just preface this? Because Pete, you don't have to say anything if you don't want to, because this is, it's gotten so political. It's crazy. But You know,
for being a group that's supposed to be not political, everything talked about them is political.
yeah, I mean, the video was not good. It wasn't great.
We'll watch a little bit of it.
It was a little naive. It's done in an LAFC outfit, which I don't know how
and
that
the weird
works.
decision to like re-record the lines and then try to like
Pete, you've already seen
edit
that.
them over his mouth. Also, maybe it shouldn't be a 17-year-old doing the intro to like your sport.
Amen.
There's just so many things from the beginning that they fucked up with.
Yeah, they kind of blew it. I think everybody's, dogpiling, which is, unfortunate because he's just a kid in the end, and he doesn't really know how to toe that fine line that you often have to do when you want to. But it doesn't come off as like we are a viable, smart, considerate, thoughtful group that you need to join. It comes off as kind of childish, unfortunately for him, and he's getting blasted for it.
Derek, who's our resident sports lawyer that we talk about all the time? What's his name?
Viskonski or whatever his name is. He's a fucking moron.
He more or less, I mean, probably a little bit in between there, but alluded that States United is just a MAGA ultra-right Yahtzee group.
People need to stop this. All right?
Here's what bothers me, though. Like, look, I'm probably not going to join States United or anything, but just because I do know that there are some fans. Okay, this could get very touchy, but there are some fans who are Christian. Okay, American soccer fans who have deep religious beliefs, and for better or for worse, a lot of them are frustrated with the open supporting of the gay LGBTQ community, right? And that's a big problem in, if you're a fan of a certain team and, that team is very inclusive and diverse and all these things, but your religion, makes it difficult for you to accept that. I think they're like, oh, why can't we just keep that out of it? So when they say no politics, I think what they really mean is no rainbow flags and no trans flags or whatever. And I think that's what people are really getting mad at.
That's definitely part of what he's said so far too. And he basically, and people have really nitpicked certain word usage. Like when somebody's like, "Hey, can I bring my Trump flag?" He said, "I prefer you not to." And all of a sudden they're like, "Well, you said no rainbow flags, but you're saying you prefer them not to do this."
Right.
But yeah, no, it's not well thought out. And quite frankly, I don't think we need a supporters group. Period.
Well, that may be
true. An alternative supporters group to the American Outlaws, because I'm sorry, but as a supporters group, nothing about them appeals to me. And it's nothing to do with their rainbow flags. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, right.
It would be nice to see another supporters group. I just don't think these guys are doing it right.
No, they're not. They're not ready for this. That's called. Well, like you got to have some sort of maturity in order to pull this off. And then I do, as Brett, I think Brett, you just said, no, we don't accept Trump flags. We don't accept any flags or whatever. Oh, that's fine. Okay, but that's not living in the real world either, right? I mean, there's no way you're going to have a group or a club even that's just going to be Christians. That's just not going to happen.
I don't think it's that they want Christians. I know there are some people among their founding group that are Christians. That's what I've heard.
Okay, I don't know enough about it.
It's supposed to be a Christian supporters group. I think they're just like, we don't want any of that stuff here. But, if somebody brought a Bible, they might be like, Bible's fine. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just to watch this unfold.
I'll say when Derek and I and a couple other people started BYB for Indy 11, we're pretty much a no politics supporters group.
Yeah.
And Derek actively had to go out and say, hey, don't bring that again.
Well, we had feuding groups within BYB, which was getting ugly. Mm-hmm. We had Palestinian flags and then we had the Israeli flag. And I'm like, no, we can't have that in the stands. You guys both need to stand down and, we need to chill out. And this is way back before what we're dealing with now. It's like my job was to make sure a fight didn't break out in the stands. That was my job, right? So I had to do it. There was nothing, so yeah, politics makes everything messy, unfortunately, when hopefully you're just there to support the team. But obviously soccer is politics too, St. Pauli. So there's no kind of avoiding it, but what you're trying to avoid mostly if you're leading a team or a supporters group is make sure there's no violence, right? I don't want to see a fight break out in the stands. And that's what I had to do to stop that. But yeah, it's unfortunate. And things are so polarized right now. Like it's almost insane. Like I wouldn't want to be a supporters group leader right now because it'd be impossible to manage. It would be absolutely impossible to manage.
I was going to jokingly ask you, Derek, if you wanted to start a supporters group for the new MLS team in Indianapolis.
No. No, I don't.
Just be like,
come on, it's going to be tons of fun, Derek.
Non-MLS supporters group of the MLS team. So you cannot reference MLS at any point during your, like,
right. I mean, it's all kind of greasy. All right, what do we got next, Brett?
Well, I want to talk about the upcoming Olympics soon here. There's obviously there's a variety of opinions as far as how much the Olympics actually mean to people when it comes to America, when it comes to soccer.
Pete loves
Derek, you're on the
some Olympics.
And Derek, you're definitely on the sense of like, it's soccer in the Olympics. Who cares? So,
like, this is the one thing Pete and I disagree on. So it's like, it's cool that you're bringing this up.
Pete, what's your take on Olympic soccer?
Any competitive men's soccer that doesn't involve us playing Trinidad and Tobago for the 849th time this cycle, to me, is worth it. Like, for our boys to get that experience, to be playing against France or Argentina or even like Guinea, it's something different and it's competitive games. Is it FIFA? No. But I think it's a great experience for our boys. And I do think that Americans hearing about a men's soccer team medaling would actually gain a little, maybe make some people excited. Like even if it's in inches. Instead
Okay. Okay. I can agree with that. Inches are good. But I don't know. I mean, my only problem with it before was I didn't hear the inches part because I think that's all it's going to advance it. And you know what? Inches are fine. I'll take inches. Most girls would take extra inches. So
crack the whole 3 to 6 inch joke there, but no, you beat me to it.
Anyhow, but I'm just saying, I don't think it's going to make a massive difference because unfortunately, when you watch the Olympics, like there's like 100 events going on. And I think people do pay attention to the women because that's the women's team, right? It's the women's first team. And often Olympic soccer gets buried in the coverage. And so it's kind of hard to follow sometimes unless that's on your absolute radar. So it might win a few more fans over, but so in that case, I'll give it to you because I do agree with the experience part. It's an important experience for younger players to have. And whatever you can do to grow, that's perfectly great. So go do it.
But also, Derek, the reason people watch the women's team is because they win. Like,
that's true.
Right? If they hadn't been winning, if they had been as bad as the men's team over the last 20 years, I don't think anyone would care about them at all. So I do think that like any chance that we have to remind the American public that we also have a men's team and we don't suck as much as we used to suck, like you know what I mean? It's just good PR because, especially if there's like, okay, Kevin Paredes scores a golazo against Argentina. Let me dream for a second. Okay. And we advance. Now that maybe makes it onto Sports Center, right? Oh, the men's team is now in the semifinal or they have a chance to medal and get a bronze. Look, it's just about creating those moments. Like Landon, I know it's the World Cup, but Landon Donovan scoring that goal against Algeria, the goal against Mexico, these moments made soccer fans. If you go talk to USMNT fans, what got you into, it was the World Cup for me, Landon's goal, right? Or so, Dempsey against Ghana. Whatever, John Brooks header versus Ghana. That was what made me, we need to make those moments. And we have 2 opportunities this summer. Olympics may not matter at all, but it might be an opportunity for us to create magical moments that will create new soccer fans.
Here's what I fear, though. Can I tell you what I fear? Here's my fear. NBC covers our Olympic team like Fox covered Gold Cup. They don't give you any context. They don't provide you any context. So I had my brother calling me, and I had my friend Dan and my friend Josh and all casuals. My mom. Where's Pulisic? Where's McKenna? What? I thought you said this team was good. They suck. So as long as the coverage provides context that this is a U23 team, there's a reason Pulisic isn't there. There is, because otherwise, if we go there and play poorly, like we did in Gold Cup, it's not going to do very good for us. It could go the other direction. People who are casuals will watch and go, "Oh, we're awful. We're horrible." Yeah. And Pulisic's not even good enough to make the team, so we must be really bad. Yeah. I mean, that's what people think.
That's very fair. That's very fair. You're right. They need to provide context. And you're right. Most people will watch us lose to France and go, that's right.
Perfect timing, actually. Speaking of French Olympic soccer team, hold on. Gotta get to it now. There we are.
All right. Justin, the president of France, Macron, married to an elderly woman, has taken it as a national issue for Kylian Mbappe to play for the Olympics. I guess, whatever.
Imagine Joe Biden being like, "I want Christian Pulisic to play at the Olympics." How would that speech go?
Oh, don't make me do that.
Christian Pulisic was in the pool with corn pop, and I said, "Hey, play at the Olympics." The Olympics, it's like when I did the Jewish thing in the 40s, when I was alive with Obama and got the hair.
You probably look at the name Christian Pulisic and probably think it's part of the women's national team there. So
yeah, I watched Christian Pulisic win the World Cup with Megan. The one with the hair. She's black. That's.
Yeah, I don't think Biden knows dick about American soccer, but of course Macron would, because he's a soccer fan, even though he's married to a 80-year-old woman, who basically what do they call that when you? I guess he was 16 or 17, and she was like 40 or 38. Anyhow.
Oh wow.
She was a cougar.
She was a cougar. Yeah.
Cougar.
Yeah. Although I tell you what, the French women last a lot longer than most do. No, hear me out. Like a British woman, and of course I'm generalizing here, but as always, when I generalize, I don't care. By the time they're 43, they've drank so much beer, their teeth are gone. It's just like a 43-year-old French woman who's been caring about her appearance her entire life, and like not only speaks lover, but like exudes lover. They tend to last a lot. Like a 50-year-old French woman can be hot. A 50-year-old British woman.
Oh, I thought
they don't exist, but
I thought you meant in bed. So I'm glad this is.
Well, like last long. Oh, okay. I mean, maybe that too. I mean, if you have less, wow, I'm gonna get in all kind of trouble.
Yeah. Lou Coutry for $10. Thank you, Lou. In this day and age, I don't think it matters how we do in the Olympics to grow the game. The U.S. won the gold in curling, and no one blinked an eye after the medal.
Okay, but are we really comparing soccer to curling now? I mean, I know we're not a top 3 sport, but come on, curling.
My local curling club saw an abundance of new interest.
Yeah, I mean, if curling had 29, professional teams, or like 55 professional teams that garnered anywhere from 5 to 50,000, I mean, come on, soccer and curling ain't the same.
I watch curling. I admit it.
The two of you are like the curling fan base of America.
But I also watch the PDC. I watch darts. So I'm just a weirdo so I'm kind of out there. But by the way, darts is like the 4th most popular sport actually in Europe.
Darts. In the world?
Yes. Look up Luke Littler.
How is it the 4th most popular sport in the world?
No, in Europe.
Oh, in Europe.
I wouldn't say the rest of the world. No, just Europe. It's
Just
really
behind soccer, right?
So it goes soccer, basketball.
Well,
What's before
snooker.
curling? Rugby, maybe?
rugby.
Cricket?
Cricket.
Probably
No.
rugby, because rugby they play across the continent. The French play it, the Italians play it, whereas
Right.
cricket is like
That's fair.
the British Isles.
Yes, exactly. But you know what? Darts, everyone in Europe plays darts, and it's huge. I challenge anyone to go watch a major darts tournament out there. It's massive. The crowds are ridiculous. They're huge screens so you can see the board. And now you got a 17-year-old Luke Littler dominating darts, basically. He's a megastar in England and in most of Europe. By the way, darts is big in Holland, Germany and England, and Scotland and Wales. Not so much in Northern Ireland and Ireland too. But yeah, anyhow, I'm a weirdo.
You just gave me a new reason to laugh at Europeans.
I play darts, so that's why I'm into it. So
Yeah, I can. It's to me, darts is like baseball. It's fun to play, horrible to watch.
I love it. I love watching it. I mean, these guys are hitting triple 20, triple 20, triple 20.
It just seems who goes first wins it at that point.
Well, you got to hold your serve. It's like tennis. All right, what else we got? Fuck Macron.
We're sticking with the Olympic talk here.
All right.
Edgar had posted what he thinks might be the starting 11 for our Olympic squad.
Can you make it bigger? That's what she said. A little bigger?
Hang on.
Viagra? There we go.
That's next show's sponsor.
Yeah, it is. So we got Gaga. I don't think Gaga's going to be the starting.
No, I think it's going to be Schulte.
I do too.
And to be honest, I think Schulte deserves it.
Yeah, me too. I think he'll be the backup, Slonina. Then we got, he says, Walker Zimmerman and Austin Trusty. Wow, I guess that's kind of a gentle reach around for Austin Trusty for totally dicking him out of this roster on the actual big boy team.
Yeah.
But I
I
don't
hate this center back pairing for the Olympics. Walker and Trusty, I'll take it.
No, that'd be
a real contender is Jalen Neal or Maxi Dietz.
Right. Has Deal recovered from his injury though?
Who?
Neal.
Yeah, he's played like the last 5 games for the Galaxy.
Has he?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good news. Dietz,
Our resident Galaxy fan was unaware of that apparently.
Dietz is going to be on this team. There's no doubt about that. And then who's the
isn't Dietz injured though?
He is right now. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we got time, but
I don't know how serious it is though.
Yeah.
So you know, those are your options, but yeah, I guess this is fine. And then Brian Reynolds and Jonathan Gomez. I don't know if he's going to accept.
I don't know if it's going to be Gomez. It's going to be probably Tolkien.
Yeah. I don't know if Gomez is going to take the call up. Is what I'm saying.
Why? Why wouldn't?
Why wouldn't you at that point? It's not going to tie you to the U.S.
Yeah, it's Olympics. It's not cap tying.
But hasn't he declined other call ups that wouldn't have cap tied him as well?
He's declined camps, but that's because he's playing in Spain at the point.
The only reason I can see Gomez going is because he can play left back or right back. Right? We saw him play right back at the Under-20 World Cup. Remember, he did okay there. But I mean, what if Christopher Lund? You guys know that he came off for Palermo in their last game holding his hammy, right?
Yep.
I've got a thing about that. Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
Yes,
so will he be in Copa? I was just saying if he he will be.
Yeah. Let me just grab that real quick since we're talking about him as well.
Okay. I was going to say if he's not fit for Copa, but maybe he's fit for Olympics. Now that's a way better back line.
It's possible, but he basically alludes that he is going to be there for Copa. So Joshua says, here's an update on Lund. And got to scroll down a bit. He asked him, hey, bro, you okay? Hope you're doing well. Is the injury bad? I was coming to see you play Colombia next month. And Lund said, hey, we will see how it is tomorrow. No, it's not too bad. Great, man. Looking forward to seeing you maybe.
Maybe. Okay, that's not real. That's not real positive. So maybe time to call up Marlon Fossey as a backup to.
But Marlon Fossey, can he play left back?
Yeah, I mean, if I had to pick someone, of course I'd pick Jeremy Toljan, but
What
no
about
one-
Nathaniel Brown?
not bad. Yeah, I take that too.
I mean,
can live
I'm
with it.
worried about
We got
why-
Joe Scally, right?
Yeah.
Did we push? Or wait, are we talking about the Olympics? Or are we talking about the?
Oh, we're talking about
Copa?
Olympics, yeah.
Okay, never mind. Scratch that then.
Okay,
I thought we were briefly talking about.
I thought
our Copa there.
I did move to Copa there. Sorry.
Okay, that's what.
Oh, you did? Okay, I thought we were still here.
No, I fucked it up. All right, and then with Busio, Testament, and Paxton, this is looking very reasonable. And then Paredes, Vasquez, Yao. Not
I would
Booth.
actually have McGlynn over Busio.
Wait a second. Where's Cal?
No Cowell, please.
No Cal.
Also, what about Taylor Booth over Griffin Yao?
Booth over Yao for sure. He played great today, got an assist. Yeah.
No, Booth and Paredes. Now, Brandon Vasquez, if you can't bring any of the guys you brought to Copa, fine. Like, I'd rather have Vasquez than Maguire. But I think Pepe would be better.
So we're looking at our overage players basically being Trusty Zimmerman and Vasquez at that point, right?
Yeah,
Pepe.
I mean, I guess our overage players for me should be center backs and strikers because that's what this team needs.
Pepe's coming to this.
Is he?
He is, because they made him
Poster
do
child.
the modeling for the Olympic outfit.
But then that's weird. Then why? So you're saying he's going to go to Copa America and to Olympics? And
Yeah.
why would they bring Brandon Vasquez if they're bringing Pepe?
Yeah, we don't know if they're bringing Brandon Vasquez.
But they brought him up. Berhalter brought him up in the press conference.
He
right?
did. He did.
Well, I don't know. It's weird. I hope Pepe goes.
In fairness, so did Brian McBride, though. So
And, well, screw McBride. But I will say this. He also said a number of the players, and he mentioned a number of them, could be eligible for both. And I think Pepe fits into that category because I don't know how much playing time he's going to get if Sargent is in fact healthy. If he's not, he's not healthy. But
So great. Like Pepe at the Olympics would really bring this team together, in my opinion, give them that cutting edge up front.
Mhm.
I mean, heck, if we could bring our full under-23 team, Balogun, Raina, Musa, Scally, who else?
it'd be our Copa squad, basically.
No,
Minus a
it
couple
wouldn't be
players.
quite
I'm
that.
joking.
But Raina, Musa, Tillman, Balogun, Scally, Pepe. That would be huge for this team.
it would. I don't think it's going to happen.
No, I don't think so either.
No, of course not. No, none
But
of the
I'll
players
take
can
Pepe.
get released
I'll
from
take
their
Pepe for
clubs.
sure.
I think Pepe would be great. But according to Brian McBride, nobody else can head a ball in the box except for Brandon Vasquez.
Derek, this was the comment that got you called a pussy on Twitter earlier today. So careful.
Wait a minute. I know he was shilling for Shaq Moore. Was he shilling for Vasquez too?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Does he know that even Monterrey is pulling this guy at halftime these days? That's how shit he's been.
Yes. I mean, no, I don't know if he knows that. That's why this guy is not fit. I texted Jimmy and said, Jimmy, no more Brian McBride on your show.
Like, what is he doing? I know he didn't, when the U.S. Soccer after the World Cup, he's no longer there. Is he just hoping for an MLS front office job? Is that why he's out here sucking Garber's dick?
Of course. Yes. He still thinks there's a future for him at U.S. Soccer. He's not going to do anything but chill. And he also thinks there's a potential job for him at MLS.
Branching out off the Olympics for just a second. There could be a spot opened up with the U.S. men's national team.
Yes. Because
Brian McBride's not a coach.
He tried it.
He wasn't he assistant at Chicago for a second there?
Well, he actually went to Europe and was an assistant coach at some lower league English teams for a while. I don't know, as maybe not officially assistant, but as a consultant or whatever. So he's thought about it, but I don't think he's going to be an actual assistant on the team. He might, who knows? But
Nashville just became MLS contenders right now.
Well, losing BJ, that's not good for Gregg.
That's what I'm saying. If they get him before Copa America, there's no dissenting voice in the locker room, right?
Right.
It's all Gregg being like, Look at my latest PowerPoint slide. Boom.
Yeah.
By the way, okay, we never discussed that. It's not your job as the presenter to say boom, right? Like, no, you know what I mean? Like, if you change the slot or you do something epic and someone else goes boom, fine. But you don't do something yourself and go boom. Like that is just like lame, cringeworthy, like, you know, like awkward dad who's trying to be cool sort of behavior from Gregg.
Yep.
And the slide was nothing. What did the slide say? Get better or something like?
No, it said we're going to change the way Americans feel about American soccer. Yeah, that was the slide. Yeah.
Like that's not a boom-worthy moment, right?
Nope.
And even if it was, maybe if McKenna shouted out, hey, boom, you know, fine. You don't say boom, you bald fuck.
Yeah, I know. You can. The only way you'll be able to say boom before you pop a slide up is if it's a picture of your hard, erect penis. That's the only way you're allowed to say boom on a power slide. All right? Like, boom! Look at that, bitch.
But even the way he said it, it wasn't like you just did it, right? Like, boom is like, boom. Right. He changes the slide. He's like, boom.
And then he gets all ultra serious, and he's like, Brendan, what does that mean to you? Brendan's like,
that was so awkward. Why do they? Is he just like so cringe as a coach that those are the least cringe moments they could find to post?
Could be.
Or so, does the person posting then? Because isn't like Michael Camerman and Neil Bluth in charge of like marketing and stuff?
Yeah.
Like, what if it's Neil Bluth who's like, oh, he said boom. The kids love that. I heard that. Let's put that boom thing in there. You know,
it's so bad. It's so bad. We asked Alexi about it. Since you watch it, you probably know. But he's like, yeah, that's bad. It's just bad.
Even Alexi couldn't defend it.
He's like, that's not good. Did you see
the fear in Brendan's eyes, man? He had some PTSD from high school again. He got like, oh shit, the teacher called on me.
Well, and Mackenzie was even worse. Mackenzie's like, winning?
Win? Yeah.
By beating them?
Oh my God.
Well, like, no wonder they come out to games so like disjointed and unmotivated. You know what I mean? Like, imagine that if those locker speeches are boom, boom, woof, woof, like, then no wonder they come out and we wonder why they can't even look good against Jamaica.
And you know what? Not every coach is a boom, boom, rah, rah guy. Certainly Klinsmann isn't a rah, rah guy. He's German. Germans don't do that shit. But at the same time, he would never put together a slideshow like that. Ever.
Say boom.
Or say boom. Okay, all of
Step on their toes. Boom.
Step on their toes. Yes. Oh my God. All right. Lover Dad for $4.99. Sports once was a place politics and agendas was left at the door. I mean, yeah, most American sports were not political. I mean, in Europe, sports are political. Like St. Pauli's.
In most of the world, sports are deeply rooted in politics and war.
Yeah, but now it's here too. But Olympics allows us to stand behind our team under the flag, which unites us. Well, that's true. I think that's true. You would think.
I guess the big difference, what you guys are talking about, what he's talking about, is that the politics for, say, like a like a Celtic versus Rangers, is different based off of a religious standpoint.
Sure.
The politics that follow, say, the U.S. men's national team, or not less than that, but more like the U.S. women's national team, is an agenda pushed. Now, whether you agree or disagree, I'm not here to say yay or nay to it. I'm just saying it's a bit different in the sense that the politics were left at the door, whereas a team that's organized around a politic, which is a religion or whatever, is different, I think.
Well, it makes
sense what I'm trying to say here.
Well, it makes things scary. Like, that's why they're like double, triple the amount of cops at every Celtics Rangers game.
Oh, 100%. I don't disagree with you on that. I'm just saying there's a difference in what we're talking about there.
But I do think that politics in general, and the crazy thing about this whole topic is like, so, because I was a longtime Democrat, I get shit from the Democrats, right? And now I get shit from Republicans. I'm a registered independent. So good luck finding out what my thoughts are about anything.
Same. I don't identify with either party.
Right. And I've said this many times on the show, like, there's no, if you got a sign in your art that says proud Democrat or proud Republican, my first thought is, what are you proud of? What are we doing here? What's there to be proud of, frankly, on either side? So, but anyhow, that's as far as I'm going to go there, because this is not a political show.
No.
Ashton Mook says for $10, might Pulisic, and we thank you, Ashton, might Pulisic sway Milan, U.S. men's national team, to be on the Olympic team with his recent performances? No. He has mentioned his desire to play in the Olympics and sounded pretty enthusiastic about it. Captain America. I don't think that's going to happen.
Milan pays you a lot of money. They're not going to release you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Also, he's in that sweet spot where he's important to the team, but he's not the superstar of the team. If you're the superstar of the team, you can kind of throw your weight around a little bit. You know what I mean? But he's not the superstar. He's a key piece, a very important piece that they need. And I think if he didn't go to Copa America, like if there wasn't Copa America, I think they would be more like willing to let some of these guys go. But having them play all summer, which could then jeopardize their season, I can't see it.
No kidding. He's going to play in Copa and the Olympics? I don't think so. No, not going to happen.
Isn't that exactly what Jesse talked about, what happened at Leipzig did?
Yes, exactly.
Let somebody play like in the Euros and then the Olympics, and then he came back injured. And
he let some French, one of the French guys, can't remember his name. But thank you, Ashton Mook. Who?
Was it Nkunku?
Might have been. Yeah, might have been. But Ashton, we do thank you for the $10. We do appreciate it. Spencer Dirty for $5.69. Giggity. Frustrating thing is Indy 11 helps Muncie academies too. It affects more than just the Indy metro area. You're completely right, Spencer. You're absolutely right. And as a Muncie guy that follows our show, we do appreciate it. It's it's going to be, in some ways, could be devastating to the women's team in the first division. It's going to be devastating to youth development. MLS is probably going to assume all those roles, right? They're going to have to start their own academies and whatever in the local area. So you would hope some of that gets remedied. I just don't know at this point that we can stop it. There's nothing we can really do here to stop 6 billionaires versus 1 billionaire and a millionaire. It's just not probably going to be feasible. We're going to lose Indy 11. And the only question is whether or not Ursula is going to go down fighting, or he's going to finally say, I'll take the 4%, take the brand, take the team name and everything else. Just give me a 4% of the company and let me be a minority owner. We don't know how that's going to work out, but I don't see a positive ending there for him personally, which is
all right.
Hard for me to say. But
all right. Well, moving on topics, but still sticking with that whole Olympic theme, I want to switch over to this real quick.
Do not panic. Do not panic. Cap them now. Cap them now. All right.
God, he disappeared on us.
Do not panic. So this is the segment we do. I don't know if you've seen it before, Pete, but it's sort of an overarching theme. Like, not everything we post here is a dual nat panic, but there are people on X who dual nat panic, even though they don't understand. There are 196 dual nats playing in Germany, England, France, Spain. Like, if you add them all up, Holland, Belgium, like, there's tons of them. So you can't cap them all. It's impossible, right? Can't do it. So he says, Alex Calabresi, Mexican national team representatives have been in touch with Gutierrez, Brian, from your teams, your shitty team, who must now battle his way back into the Olympic team. I'm thinking under the radar, deciding which, so I don't have a concrete answer right now. I need to see what my options are, says Gutierrez.
So this is in reference to an article that Alex posted where basically Brady and Gutierrez both said that they would like to make the Olympic squad. Now, the big talking point, of course, Derek and I always push whenever it comes to Chicago, when it comes to youth players, is that they have a history of not releasing Brian and Guti. Sorry, Brady and Guti.
Right.
Now, of course, Alex came back at you and said, well, they weren't selected for the March window. Right? They basically said they were never called upon in March.
Right, because U.S. Soccer's given up asking Chicago Fire for players because they constantly and routinely has said no.
Well, I specified that you weren't necessarily even talking about the Olympic windows that have come up recently. You're talking about in past stuff, whether it's the Camp Cupcake that we just recently had, or the U.S. U20s.
U23s too.
It was reported that they declined releasing them for the U20s because they were in the middle of their season.
Right.
That didn't do us any good. But yeah, so the comment here, because he says he wants to make the Olympic squad. Brian has always talked about wanting to play for the U.S. I'm not concerned if he was given the opportunity to actually represent the U.S. that he'd choose the U.S. But the comment by simply saying that he needs to see what his options are, it sounds like he's basically holding the door open for Mexico because he doesn't necessarily feel the love coming from U.S. soccer.
Sure.
That's perfectly understandable at that point.
Well, it's not. Go ahead.
It's a tough place for Brian because let's be honest, none of these under 23 guys are cracking the senior team anytime soon. As long as Gio and Malik Tillman are healthy, Paxton Aronson, Diego Luna, Brian Gutierrez have a very tough road to get in at that 10 spot.
Right.
Correct. But they'd be wing depth at that point.
Huh?
They'd be wing depth at that point.
Right. At best, maybe they could, and no one's budging out Haji, right?
Not at this point, no.
It's maybe one wing spot that's up for grabs. And if you're not even really a winger, it can be tough. So Brian's going, well, what are my options? Personally, I think Brian, if he really wants to, because I think there's talent with Guti, but I don't think the Fire is the best place for him to develop that talent right now.
Absolutely not.
Amen.
Fuck of a dumpster fire. And him signing 5-year contract with the Fire was kind of dumb, in my opinion.
It was just a 2-year extension, basically. But yes, I still agree. Stupid to do. He did it because they were going to offer him DP U23 money, basically. Same thing Diego did. Luna did the exact same thing. He extended his contract by like a year or two because he got paid the U23 initiative money.
But in terms of competence, right? Real Salt Lake's better than the Fire.
Oh, 100%, 100%. I'm not no disagreeing there.
Well, I see Johnny/Larry going off in the comments, and I'm thinking to myself, well, it isn't that there weren't some clubs in Europe that were actually tiptoeing and interested in Brian Gutierrez, because there were.
Or
I don't know.
That matter.
And I don't know how serious that was. But, I think the signing of the 5-year contract for Chicago was like, yeah, we're going to hold on to this guy and sell him eventually for a lot of money. I think that's their concept of it. But, will Brian Gutierrez get signed for a lot of money? I don't know. He's on a horrible team that are doing horrible, and he's like the shining star on it. But when you're a shitty team, you're just not going to get as many eyeballs. So it's tough for him. And his team denied him multiple times from being called up to U23 squads and other youth squads for friendlies. And so, yeah, they're screwing him that way. So, yeah, I think we'll see how it works out. But, yeah, I mean, that's just the reality of where things are.
Brady, like, even if they were to let him go, who's he ahead of? Like, you can only bring 2 keepers to the Olympics, right?
Right.
So is he really going to go over Gaga or Schulte? I doubt it.
No.
Nope.
There's just a lot of depth ahead. There's just a lot of quality, which is good. This is what we want, right?
Right.
We want real fierce competition for spots. And sadly, if your club doesn't let you go to 3 camps when there's fierce competition for spots, U.S. Soccer, it's like if a girl texts me 8 times and I don't respond, and then, the one time that I text her, I had this metaphor worked out in my head, but now I'm getting lost.
If a girl texts you 8 times and you don't respond, your tires are getting slashed the next day.
Probably. Or she'll just give up on you and be like, screw it. He's not worth my time. I'm going to go see what Brett's up to. Maybe he's got a joint or something. So, it's just like, okay. And then I'm like, oh, I think I did not sleep enough last night because it's all getting lost in my head. But you get the idea of what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's like, but listen, if you ask a girl out on a date 4 times and she says no, you're an ugly fucker, or, I've been told your dick's too small, at some point you got to give up. I mean, that's never personally happened to me, but I'm just saying, yes. And that's what you at soccer did, basically, and Gregg has done with Chicago, right? They've said, you know what? We keep asking for you to give us these Chicago players, and you keep saying no. So, go fuck yourself. It's basically, and this is not like when I say that, there are people like, oh, you're defending Gregg. No, that's just a reality of what happened. They said no to U.S. Soccer and Gregg on multiple occasions. Mm-hmm. So after a while, you stop asking and you move on to the other chick who's heard other rumors about your large member, right? That's what you do. All right.
Sure.
And it is large. All right. What else we got?
More dual nap panics. We got a lot of them. So we'll rush through them.
Dual nap panic. Oh, Tom, don't bogart that joint, my friend. Tom Bogart Selleck with that mustache. Werder Bremen U19 standout forward Yuval Raina is on the radar of the U.S. men's national team. Raina, 18, currently an Israel youth international, but eligible for the U.S. He has 9 goals and 5 assists in 1,385 minutes. God, it is so specific. This year, that's good, Tom. I like the specificness. With the U19 Bundesliga after stellar season with the U17s with 15 goals, 3 assists, and 17 games. I think that's fabulous. There's another kid on Werder Bremen that's also American, by the way. As I mentioned, there are 196 of them in Europe. Okay? So there you go.
Well, these kids just come out the woodwork, Derek. You never know.
All kinds of dual nets, all over the place. So I don't think that, I don't mind it being discussed on X. I think that's fine. And Tom doesn't call them, he stopped calling them Wonder Kids.
Wonder Kids.
That, I texted, I was like, dude, no more Wonder Kids. Please stop doing Wonder Kids. Stop calling kids Wonder Kids. We don't know if they're Wonder Kids. We don't know how this is all going to work out. They could break their leg in half tomorrow, and it's all over. So let's stop.
I think if he posts another Sullivan tweet, there'll probably be a Wonder Kid there.
That annoyed me. Pete, do you like Wonder Kids? You like posting Wonder Kids all over the place?
I'll tell you what I don't like. I don't like these guys on Twitter, and there's trying to be quite a few of them, who their primary job is watching 11-year-olds play.
U.S. men's national team prospects. That guy.
That's one. Marcus Shirez is another one. There's quite a few now.
Later. Yeah.
And it's all like 12-year-olds that they're posting about. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, this 11 born, 2012 born. I'm like, shut the fuck up and leave these children alone.
Yep.
I know they don't mean it that way, but there is something weird about a grown man getting excited about an adolescent boy. I'm sorry. I know everyone's doing it with Caven, all right? And maybe there's reason, maybe there isn't. Personally, I'm on the pump the brakes on Caven Sullivan train. But the fact that we even have to discuss adolescent children's and like track their progress, it's wild to me.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if I walked into a pub in England and I was like, "Hey mate, United have got this 9-year-old, see? And I'll tell you what, this motherfucker's going to be the best thing since Wayne Rooney's airline, mate." They'd be like, "Hey, can we get the bobbies down here? This guy's a proper pervert." Like, that's what they would,
It'd be okay if you were his dad, but,
sure. Or if it's your job. If your job is you're a scout and you work for a club and you're supposed to scout players.
Right.
But to just spend all day on Twitter talking about adolescent boys creeps me the fuck out.
I'm there with you, dude. And, we had this theory, and I think it was Brett's theory. Hey, Derek, what if U.S. men's national team prospects is actually just like a 15-year-old girl lusting after these young boys? Okay, fine. But I don't think he is. I think it is a he, and I think he sits around and that's all he does. He whips out the lube and he searches far and wide. Okay, if now you're including U15s and U17s dual nats, we are talking up and upwards of 500 dual nats worldwide that qualify for both the U.S. and another nation. 500. I can't remember the guy that was documenting them all, but he was nearly passing out because he'd been up for 2 days documenting them all. So we can't go crazy here. We can't cap everybody. It's just not possible. Pete, didn't you have Marcus Chariz on your channel before?
Yeah, I did, like 3 years ago. And we were talking about U20 players because that's where we started. Okay?
Right.
And that's fine. No problem. To be honest, got his opinion about some guys. Great. But when it becomes all 14-year-olds and 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds, there's a reason he hasn't been back. So.
Yeah, well, we just had an argument today, me and
we're going to pull it up. Don't worry.
Oh, shit. Really? Okay.
Yeah, you sent it my way.
Oh, I don't remember. All right. R. Lubin. Lubin what? All right. $5. Thank you, R. Lubin it up. Hansi Flick is set to be the new manager of Barca. Is it possible that Dest stays since Flick wanted him at Bayern, or is it over for Dest? I thought, is Hansi Flick really taking over at Barca?
There's a lot of assumptions being made here, Ruben. Number one, we don't know if he really wanted Dest, right? Football reports and rumors during transfer season are pretty unreliable. So we don't know that for sure. Two, like just because let's say he did, even if he did want them back then, that doesn't necessarily mean he wants him now. C, we don't know if he's taking over at Barca. And D, Dest's injury complicates a whole lot of things.
It sure does. Yep.
Well, he's definitely going to be at Barca next season. Just not playing
with a pair of crutches for most of it.
At least for the first half. I think January might be the earliest time he could get a move, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are you drinking, Derek?
Today, this is really weird. I'm drinking vodka and diet caffeine.
Interesting. I would have thought rum and Coke.
No, I don't drink rum because it makes me mean, Pete.
Oh, really?
Yeah, rum and whiskey makes me mean.
You know how many people give me crap when I do like vodka and Coke or vodka diet or Coke Zero? They're like, "Oh, gross!" Wow, oh, I'm like,
dude, they were out.
Mixer.
They were out of Canada Dry. What am I supposed to do? I had to go with the Diet Coke.
I'm just saying. I do vodka and Diet Coke as well, but I don't care. I don't care. And they're like, "Oh God, I can't believe you're doing that." I'm like, what the fuck do you care if I do that?
Yeah, I can't do rum and whiskey because just traditionally for me, that's when I get into the most fights in the bars. So I stopped doing that. Brett Oppenheim, $10. Brett, thank you for coming back and blessing us with your presence and the $10. Sweet backdrop. Pete is in a hotel, I would guess, right?
No, I'm in an Airbnb in Greenville, South Carolina.
You're really close to my brother, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's in North Carolina, so not that close.
Just doxed your brother, Derek.
Yeah. Well, I didn't really. But Johnny, a.k.a. Larry, for $2, U23 qualifiers was an insult to the sport. U23 qualifiers.
Maybe Johnny's been having rum and Coke.
Johnny's point is basically that they skipped out on the U23s for qualifying because MLS was dropping the ball on developing players. So they had a U20 qualifier that covered the U20 World Cup and the Olympics qualifying. Mm-hmm. So basically, if they held a U23 qualifier at that point, the U.S. wouldn't have qualified because there was no good U23s that would have been called in.
Okay.
But
which has been our problem the last three.
Don't have good under 23s either in CONCACAF.
Well, I was gonna say, but that's been our problem the last three Olympics is that we have had subpar U23s because they've just been all MLS based, and none of our good U23s could go because their clubs in Europe would never release them. So
also, CONCACAF made that decision, not U.S. Soccer, and CONCACAF is run by a Canadian. So, I don't know why they would be so interested in American soccer. qualifying for the Olympics.
Yeah, I'm totally clueless on this, so I'm going to move on to AJ1410 for $199. Watch Stalin versus Rasputin. ERB. What does ERB stand? Erection.
Epic rap battle, I believe.
Oh, I mean, I like that already because I'm a historian. So Stalin versus Rasputin sounds hilarious, and I think I've actually watched that before. But I thought it meant like erection, whatever, something RB. Derek will love it. No, I already do love it. You were right. I've watched it and I do love it. And one of my sons sent it to me because they know I'm a history geek. All right. Wasserman Agency, thank you for the super chat.
Mm-hmm.
Not enough to get Brett to drive halfway to wherever you live and meet you in a private, a public bathroom and give you a reach around, but good enough. All right.
Fewer and fewer pit stop or the highway stops, whatever they're called. Can't think of what they're called right now.
I don't know. Wasserman Agency has poached 19-year-old dual national striker Joel Imasuan, who actually started, by the way, one game for Werder Bremen this season. This is the other Werder Bremen player we were talking about. The Atlanta-born attacker scored 41 goals in 27 games for the U23 this season and made his Bundesliga debut in March. Yeah, that's what he said. Imasuan recently renewed a new long-term contract, and he's worth paying attention to. So good.
See that right there? That's a prospect.
Yes,
that's
almost 2 goals a game. Yeah,
that is a prospect, not a prepubescent boy.
Mm-hmm. Correct. He's got hair on his nuts. Number one, and number two, he's scoring goals for the U23 team, which is essentially the Werder Bremen 2 team, not the youth team. Like everybody going nuts about that Cole Campbell guy. Listen, it's great. I hope he makes his next step forward, but he's not at the age of 19, which, by the way, Raina and Pulisic had already surpassed him doing this earlier. He's still playing for the youth squad. Yeah. He's not even playing for the Werder Bremen 2 squad. So
Pulisic and Raina both made their debuts for Dortmund 3 years before this guy is now. 3 years before the age of 19. They both did it at the age 16. So, I mean, look, could he be depth in the future? Maybe. But at 19 to still be playing for a youth team is, probably not. He could be good, right? Like he might challenge Brendan Aronson for a spot one day. Maybe.
But sure.
But, there's also Kevin Paredes and Taylor Booth and Griffin Yao, who I'm hearing is, the bee's knees. And maybe he is. I just think we can pump the brakes on Griffin. But there's going to be a lot of guys fighting for spots. And nobody is really of the quality of the starting lineup that we have now that I see coming through, except for some Detroit Strikers 9-year-old who I hear is going to be is at Pulisic's level already. Like he could win the Champions League now,
Yeah. I mean, I think that a lot of the younger fans just don't remember, and especially for me, don't remember the Freddie Adu thing. Like I was alive covering it I was an actual journalist back then. And I covered it and I thought, wow, this is just way too much. This is not going to end well. Even back then. And it didn't end well. And even Freddie's admitted why it didn't end well. And there's so many reasons why it doesn't end well. The last player I ever had any sort of titillation with that I thought this kid could be really, really great was Gideon Zelalem. And I learned my lesson. That was the last time I ever put any hopes in a 17-year-old kid and said, this kid's going to be great someday. And then he had a slaughtering of injuries, and he's never been the same. And his team, Den Bosch, just got relegated to the 3rd tier of Holland's soccer, right?
But there is a guy on Twitter who wants us to believe That
Most
Gideon
underrated.
Zelalem is the most underrated prospect. He's the other end. He's like the
Prospect?
antithesis of USMNT prospects. He's like, this 36-year-old is the next big thing.
I saw that too. Yeah.
Fabian Johnson is still currently looking for a club. He could
Hey,
be the
you
next
know what?
big thing.
Timothy Chandler does get pity minutes in the Bundesliga.
You had to mention Chandler. Larry's in the chat. Come on.
Hey, man, there was a time a few years ago when Chandler was coming on and scoring absolutely every game. That's a few years ago, people. We got to move on. And there's nobody with a closer connection to Timmy Chandler than me. All right? My mom, I've said this before, did translation for Timmy Chandler in multiple interviews. We got to get to know Timmy Chandler. Many. This is way back.
Had him over for supper.
What was he like? Did you ever get the impression that he didn't want to play for the U.S. unless it was the World Cup?
No, he loved the U.S., but he was afraid of flying. I remember that. That was personal conversation. Feels fine to let out now. He hated flying. He was
let out about a decade ago, Derek. Come on.
That's true. He had a fear of flying, and but they would sedate him during the flying part, so he's okay with that. But I don't think he really ever connected with the team as a whole. He connected with the other German players, but not the Americans who saw him as kind of a goofball, which he is. He's a fun-loving, great guy. His German accent, however, is incredibly impossible to listen to because I think he's Hanover, and it's like listening to someone from like Louisiana in the bayou. You're like, is that English? Okay.
Does Johnny not like Timmy Chandler?
No, he's Timmy Chandler's biggest fan.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah. So
the big thing is that he banned him for being ugly.
No, I mean, you can't accuse me of not being a big supporter for Timmy Chandler through the years, because I was for a long time. And when he got benched, it was over. And he's not been a regular starter now for 3 seasons. So you can't bring up my boy, what I would consider, my mom would certainly has a connect. Like every time the U.S. national team would play, she's like, is Timmy playing? Because she spent, hours with this guy translating his horrible Hanoverian accent into English for Brian Schroeder. So
Derek,
yes.
Is Timmy your dad?
No,
your dad now?
I'm way older than Timmy. So there you go.
So hear me out. If you could replace Shaquille Moore on this roster with Timmy Chandler, would you do it?
Yes, I would.
That's
for
my
the headlines,
point.
at least.
If fucking Shaq Moore can still get call-ups, then basically nobody's really off the roster. What about that third division striker that Berlin Americana loves so much, Terrence Boyd? How come he's not being called up?
I think he's retired at this point.
He did.
No, I still get FODMOB notifications for him.
But Pete,
we
Shaq Moore is our number 1v1 defender. How could we possibly say Chandler should?
Did you see that Brian McBride clip that
Nothing Brian McBride ever says should ever be taken seriously ever again. You know when you make a take so bad that we question your mental health? Like it's beyond soccer knowledge at that point, right? It's like, oh, did he get head the ball too many times? It's sad. It's not even, you don't even get angry at it. You know what I mean? When Alexi Lala says Zimmerman is a top 3 center back for us, you get angry because it's so untrue. But it's not in the realm of absolute lunacy that all of a sudden, I'm sorry, we have Anthony Robinson, who was one of Fulham's best players this season. But Shaquille Moore, that guy who couldn't even make it in the Spanish second division, is actually our best defender. What?
Do people even realize that when he was at Tenerife, his last 2 seasons, he barely played?
They benched the fucker.
I mean, it's so ridiculous. And yet, and we tore McBride a new asshole in a video that we did. Well, actually, we clipped off of our last show. And it's sad watching a legend destroy any, he's gone. He's sold.
It's like Landon now at this point.
He
Stuff
sold this.
coming out of his mouth is Looney Tunes.
Well, and the
Get off
difference
the TVs. Go away.
the difference is that Landon says shit just because it's in his skull. It's obvious to me that McBride has sold his soul to Satan. And I put that in the title that we put out. And it's true. He has. I mean, depending on who you think Satan is.
You can tell,
it's kind of
he sold his soul because he has no white of his eyes.
He's kind of yes, because he's Jaws. But it's a joke. It's a joke. The title's a joke, but in reality, he has sold his soul. No doubt. So, Johnny for $2, AK/Larry. Chandler was hated because he put Breck Shea to shame. I don't know. Could be. I think he was disliked. Or not disliked. Former U.S. soccer players that have been on our show that we have talked to on and off the show in private, not saying who they're going to be, has said, yeah, Timmy Chandler just didn't take it a shit as serious as we did. He was kind of a clown, a joker arounder. And I think he was one of the guys who was asking Beckerman in one of the last qualifiers why he was playing so hard because this game is meaningless. And other guys were like, what are you talking about? We got to win every game. Fuck that shit.
Do you mean Breck Shea's the Joker?
No.
You said Timmy Chandler was the Joker.
Timmy Chandler was he's still a clown. Go watch Frankfurt videos. They have like off the field videos, and Timmy Chandler's featured in many of them. He's a funny guy. He's a really funny guy. I know he looks like a mini Frankenstein or whatever was posted earlier. That's fine. But he's a great human being and fun guy.
Here's I think a good role for Timmy Chandler on our national team. His job is just to be Gregg Berhalter's parrot. He stands behind him during team meetings. And when Berhalter goes boom, Timmy Chandler's like boom.
Boom!
He's like, everybody, we got to be like, tonight we sick the dogs. And then Timmy Chandler's like,
yes. Well,
Hype man?
I only wish Timmy Chandler the best. I do know this about him. He's a great person. He's a great human being, and I only wish him the best. And my mom would say the same if she were on the show right now, which she wouldn't be because she thinks my show's rather crass. But otherwise, here we go.
He's got the Flavor Flav rule.
Yeah. All right. What do we got next?
We're still on dual nats. Let's hammer through these dual nats real quick.
Holy shit, Brett. After today.
You got off on a tangent, man.
We all did. It's okay. After today's dismissal of 19 official players from Norwich City squad, there is optimism from the club. Another, by the way, Norwich American dual nat, amongst 196 others, on the continuity of American eligible tri-national striker Kenneth Abo. The club has offered Abo new contract since the departure of previous Coach Wagner. By the way, they're cutting everybody loose. Has nothing to do with Coach Wagner's performance or any of the players' performances. They are out of their EPL parachute payments. They are dumping, and they have to because the money's gone.
Yeah, they were talking about not being able to re-sign Tompkinson,
right?
And I'm like, how could you not afford to sign me?
For someone to come pay a handsome chunk of change for a certain red-headed ginger ninja.
Hell yeah!
But I mean, how could you not afford Jonathan? I mean, his market value is like $120,000.
Does he play in League Two?
He was loaned out to a League Two team, yeah, and apparently did really well. I mean,
Bradford City, I believe.
Yeah,
like it's Wrexham level, right? Like it's Wrexham.
Correct.
Yes.
It was. Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, I'm just saying, if money is the issue, how could you not sign that guy? Because he's going to be like pennies on the dollar.
Well, they will. They will. They will, I think. All right. Jack McGlynn has drawn interest from various degrees from the championship, Germany, and big clubs from Belgium. Big clubs like Anderlecht, Club Brugge, who are we talking about? And Holland. But no offers have arrived yet for McGlynn. It's unclear how much it would take for the Philadelphia Union to agree to an immediate sale. Probably about 10 to 12, I would guess.
Of various degrees, okay.
Max.
I thought it's from various
Honestly,
degrees.
if they could organize like 7 or 8 plus a sell-on fee.
Yeah, but they overdo it, as you well know, with the price. So,
but they let Paxton go pretty cheaply.
Yeah, maybe Philly's better than Dallas. Let me say that.
To be fair, Philly sells. Look at Mark McKenzie, Brendan Aronson.
Philly's better than Orlando.
Paxton Aronson. That's 3 already that they've sold. So their record is they will sell. I think he should go to the Eredivisie. I think the championship is going to be a lot for Jack McGlynn, who I still think this guy's an amazing left foot, but I worry about his speed of play under real pressure because most of the time in midfield and MLS, he's not really under a ton of pressure.
Mm-hmm. I'd agree.
I agree. That's where I mentioned as well.
Yep. Needs another test. All right. American eligible right back Devin Tanton. Sorry. Tate. My bad. Not the taint. I'm sorry. Tanton. And U.S. youth national keeper Alex Borto were crowned U21 Premier League Cup champions with Fulham. Tanton has a stellar performance in notch and assist. Still not cap-tied. He was pictured carrying a Colombian flag and it's team scarf.
I thought he was cap-tied to Colombia.
He's not. He can do a one-time switch. But
fair enough.
Maybe. I don't know. Because I think the one game he played for Colombia was a friendly, so I don't think it counts. But I think this does count as dual nat panic. Listen, okay. I'm not going to freak out about losing Tanton. I think he could be a great player. We don't know. The problem is we got so many to monitor. I mean, I don't know how it's going to be up to U.S. Soccer and Gregg in general to decide who do we spare a spot for to cap tie. We've done it. We did it with Musa. But Tanton, not really there yet. He's a U21 player.
Shaq Moore.
What's that?
I'd still rather have him than Shaq Moore.
Yeah. Although he doesn't play really. I mean, does he play right back? I don't know. Devin Tanton. I thought he was a right winger. I might be wrong. Johnny for $2. Bring back Bruce to ban all these fake Americans. Oh, Johnny. Jesus H. Christ. Did we have to go there? Then Pete's a fake American. I'm a fake American.
I'm an American.
Brett was the only one here who's a true American. The rest of us lived all over the world before we came back here. Does that not make us American? Are we not American enough for you? Really? I think I am American enough for you. So come on, man. Let's be cool. Let's be cool. All right. What else you got, Brett? Source, Michael Bradley is an option for an assistant coach position under Jesse Marshall, Canadian national team. You're laughing your ass off, so I'm going to let you go first. Come on.
No, I love this because if like the entire coaching staff of Canada is American, then even when they beat us, which they could, we're just going to go, yeah, bro, of course you beat us. You have all American coaching staff. Like, you're so shit. You couldn't even come with a Canadian coach, right? Like, who's the best Canadian coach right now? Mauro Biello, probably. Is there anyone else? Don't tell me Carlo Ancelotti's not Canadian, as much as a few weirdos from Montreal might want to believe that. Like, who do they have? Like, good for them. I mean, I'm very pleased that they're getting Jesse Marsh, who in my opinion is a caliber above anybody else they could have gotten, even though he's got plenty of his own issues too. Jesse,
he does,
right?
Yeah, but you're right. Mm-hmm.
But apparently there's some dual nat also that might get, like, there's a ruling going on right now for a question.
That's why they haven't announced their Copa roster yet, or whatever it is.
Like, if it's Tomori, who I think it might be, that's a huge win.
It is
for Canada.
I think Aiden Morris is making the one-time switch over.
Oh, you do? You think it's Morris?
No, he can't.
That's a joke.
Dude, he can. He's got like 6 caps in the Gold Cup, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's tied. Brett, you asshole.
But that's the joke. Everybody, because people are like, oh yeah, they're holding off the roster because of a dual nat possibly, making them move over. And so people are like, Tomori, they're beating Koleosho, and I'm like, a couple of people are like, I think Aiden Morris is going to make the switch.
Tomori is huge, though. Pete's right. That's
If
gonna
it's
be
more. I'm not saying it is, but if it is,
yeah, that's
Jesse and Tomori, ooh, that becomes a very interesting Canada team.
Jesse's no dummy. I know he said dumb things, but he's no dummy. He will.
Because he was treated bad by the U.S. Soccer Federation.
He did say that. And we'll ask you in a minute, Peter, what you thought about that. But I do think that Jesse, even though he's a systems guy, I think he realizes that shit's not possible on a national team. I at least
could work with the Canadian national team quite well, actually.
If he's, unless he's a moron and he thinks that you can do that with a national team. But yeah, Pete, what'd you think about the whole move with Jesse and?
Yeah, I mean, I am not a big Jesse fan. I didn't want him coaching us.
Yeah, me either.
But I actually think that this is very good for Canada for Copa America, at least, because Jesse generally starts well everywhere he goes.
True.
And the reason I think that is because Jesse Marsh is an inspirationalist coach, right? The way he deals with people, he's a good man manager. He knows how to get people fired up. His locker room speeches are 100 times more interesting than anything Gregg has ever croaked out of that pathetic little larynx of his, And so I think, and that in a lot of ways, that's what John Herdman was too. Yeah, he was a very smart tactician, but he was also a real fireball of energy, and that motivated Canada. So A, there's that. B, the players that Canada has actually, I think, would fit Jesse's style a lot more because they don't have a Raina, they don't have a Pulisic. Yes, they have an Alphonso Davies who's very technical, but he's also an absolute freak athlete, right? So you want these guys to press. Jonathan Day, they've got a lot of MLS runners, Alistair Johnson even. That team is set up to press and to work their butts off, and I think Jesse will absolutely love that. The only guy in midfield whom that may not quite work out for is what's his name from Porto? Eustachio.
Eustachio. Yeah. God damn it.
Because Eustachio may not be that guy. But we'll see. We'll see what Jesse does with that. But I'm fascinated to watch how they do in Copa America, because if they go further than the U.S., which they could, how stupid is U.S. soccer gonna look?
Is Tomori capped? Right?
It's a weird situation.
Right here. No, sorry. Somebody had mentioned that he has 5 caps with England or whatever.
Was that before the age of 18?
I think he got 1. I think it's
BMR.
in some weird. I don't know. As I understand it, it's way more complicated because a lot of that happened before they made the new rule. And they might be you know what? Is it a special situation? They've done that in the past, FIFA.
They have.
He could be grandfather.
Grandfather.
He's 26 years old, man.
Right. They might let it go because also remember, FIFA wants Canada to do well at this upcoming World Cup, right? They need Mexico, US, and Canada to do well to get this region excited. So I would not be surprised to see FIFA go, let them have Tomori,
Yeah, friendlies don't count. So if they were friendlies, I think Chris Gary's saying, were they competitive caps? I don't know. But BMR says Tomori played last year in Euro qualifiers.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, yeah, I don't know if it's. I know players have made appeals in the past. Lots of them have to switch. Some of them get approved. Some of them don't. So.
Right.
Maybe
they're doing a last-ditch appeal because they're it's worth it to try. Worst case, all they can do is say no.
Right. He might be a no. So
yeah, it could be. But I'll say this about Jesse, where I think he's really going to do poorly is 2026. Because I think Jesse is still stubborn as hell, and I still think he's very much a my way or the highway kind of guy, and I think he gets found out, later in his tenure for his stubbornness. But I think they're going to have a good Copa America. And I'll say this, 36 hours playing tic-tac-toe with Betty Crocker, that's what he alluded to, right? Because he said to Charlie, how about you and I go to a room for 36 hours and go through a battery of men? 36 hours, guys. Think about that. No wonder it's easy that nobody wanted the job. Hervé Renard, Patrick Vieira, Pellegrino Matarazzo, will you submit to a 48-hour grilling session of Scrabble with Matt? Nobody will. Who will do this? Only Gregg. He's your man.
Even worse, it wasn't just with Matt. It was the sportsology stupid shits.
Okay, who, by the way, didn't Eric say they sit next to fucking Jay Berhalter in the MLS? Like their office is in the MLS head office. Is that true?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I believe it is, yes. So sportsology actually, so Crocker would leave the room to go bake his muffins, and then they would basically put you through this round of leadership tests, mentality tests. And as far as I understand it, at some point during the test, Marsh said, I've had enough, I'm leaving. And Vieira refused to do it at all. And it's like, look at my resume, bitch.
Yeah.
Look at my resume, motherfucker. Don't put me through a test. This is ridiculous. But, in the end, who can get through a sportsolity test that is so stupid? And, these tests are made by morons, by the way, who graduate from Ivy League schools. And yeah, why are you going to put yourself through that? I don't know. I wouldn't. I'd say go yourself. As soon as I arrived at the interview, when they said, oh yeah, we need you to go through this 46-hour, 8-hour test first, even though the interview is going to last a lot longer than that. So first you got to take this test. You got to suck Brett's cock, and then you got to stand on your head, and then we're going to fuck you up the ass. And then after that, we might decide whether or not you're worth being the U.S. men's national team coach. CF says for $5, can Marsh play bunker ball as required by Canada's awful CBS? Hertman forgot to park the bus in the World Cup and got embarrassed. Go ahead, Pete. I'll let you take it.
I mean, yeah, that was a big problem for Hertman. He got too much bravado, right? And he got too excited after a good performance against a terrible Belgium team, and then gave Croatia literally like a World Cup finalist locker room material by saying to the journalist that we're going to go fuck up Croatia. Like, dude, how nice? Like, that's stupidity. But, that and playing 40-year-old, what's his name, in midfield for every single game. Who was that guy? 40-year-old midfielder that he was playing at the World Cup who had no legs.
Oh, shit.
I don't remember his name now.
Catch up on that.
Canadians have weird names. But, yeah, I mean, that was Hertman. Is Jesse going to do – is Jesse going to learn from his past mistakes? Because so far he hasn't, right? He's done the same thing at Leipzig, at Salzburg, at Leeds. Atiba, thank you. Atiba Hutchinson. Right? He was 40 years old running around. I just didn't really get what Hertman was doing there. But can Jesse learn his lesson? Because if he fails with Canada, there's nothing left for him, I don't think. Maybe an MLS job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Hey, Brett, if we clock all the way back up here, I can't remember who it was. They're like, yeah, these tests are done all over for job interviews now.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, they're still stupid. I've taken them.
For what kind of job interviews, though? I promise you, the French Football Federation isn't like, Didier, come here, we do a test,
Right. It's like, look at my resume and tell me what you don't see. So I need to take a 3-hour test. Like, he's right. Leverno's right. Like, these tests do happen now when you apply for a job. I do have to go in when I apply for a job sometimes and take an hour-long mentality test. The questions, however, written by the people that created the test, those people are obviously, to me, dumber than I am. They're way dumber than I am. And I think the people creating at Sportsology, the test for the soccer test, are dumber than Jesse Marsh is about soccer. Like, Sportsology, they work with the NFL. And I realize they're going to ask questions about, general questions. Hey, what doesn't fit in here? A clam, an oyster, or tuna? And you're like, oh, okay, tuna doesn't fit in. It's not a fucking, shellfish. Whatever. I mean, some of this stuff is so stupid. It's so dumb. How about a one-on-one, human-to-human conversation? All right? That should decide it. Not some stupid mentality test. I'm sick of this shit. I'm sick of it.
The job I had prior to the one I have now, And a lot of jobs, when I was unemployed about a decade ago or whatever, every time you applied for a place, you always had like an hour-long questionnaire that you had to fill out before even getting the possibility of an interview. But the last job I had outside of doing the questionnaire, I had to go and do I had to meet up with 6 different heads of departments and talk with them for like 30 minutes each. And it was literally was me answering the same questions over and over again. Of course, when I got the job and I eventually became the head of customer service at that point, I always talk to people whenever I had to go in for the interviews and talk to these people who've been there for 2.5 hours already. I've had questions. I would talk to them like, hey, what's your favorite poison? Or beer? What's your favorite type of beer? And then we just talk about beer, or we'd talk about are you Xbox or PS, or are you PC Mastermind? You know, that type of stuff. I didn't fucking care. I just wanted to talk to the person, find out how I interacted with them, and that was my judgment. I really don't care what you did at your previous job.
IQ, like emotional quotient, EQ.
So, what was that? I'm sorry, Pete. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, you're trying to figure out their emotional quotient, their EQ, which is like bigger than IQ these days. They're like, how are you socially? Can you get along? Do you understand basic human interactions? Can you be part of a team, work towards a common goal? All of that is more important than all these stupid battery of tests that they take.
If the interviewee's already going to HR, I'm not signing off on him.
So the reason that 80% of people lose their job, or somewhere around there, that number, it's not because they're incompetent. It's actually because they can't socially engage and get along with their coworkers. That's that's what the research says. So, I mean, if you want to test that, that's fine. But I think all the evidence shows that Jesse's perfectly socially, competent. Gregg, no. Gregg's, no, not socially competent. That has been very obvious, even with our Lawless interview. That's the one thing that Gregg has a problem with. So how he passed this sportsology test, I will never know. We better get to the main topic, Brett.
We'll get there in just a second. Unless Peter, are you good, or do you need a bolt soon? I don't know what your
work schedule is. I'm good. I'm stuck in South Carolina, middle of nowhere, with nothing to do. So
there we go.
I mean, all Pete's got is a jar of Vaseline in his laptop. So
it's half empty at this point.
And a picture of Derek.
Sexy. All right.
It is a silly season, so let's go ahead and start talking about some transfer news.
Transfer news. Who's getting mounted on transfer news? Who's getting over on transfer news? Transfer news. Everyone loves that transfer news but me.
Whatever.
All right. I think I made that one.
I did the Dual Nap Panic one, and he did the transfer news.
What do you guys use? Because my editing skills are worse than a Gregg Berhalter PowerPoint.
Well, what do I use?
I use the General Windows Movie Maker, and here's my transfer news, by the way.
Transfer news. Everybody loves that transfer news but me. Okay, I use Movavi, by the way.
Movavi, okay.
It's not cheap. Let's just put it that way. Thanks to all of the Super Chat people here, because without it, we wouldn't have bought Movavi. We'd have just said, screw it. So thank you to all of you. MLS transfers source Brendan Aaron saying may join Leeds United late for preseason after Copa America, but he will go on loan again to look for permanent home elsewhere. Promoted Bundesliga side Holstein Kiel have already inquired for a season-long loan. More offers expected. Yes, that is how you pronounce that, Holstein Kiel. So that's fine, because the Leeds fans hate Brendan Aronson, so he better go.
Well, I mean, it's been apparent, and even Leeds have come out, or the front office have come out and basically said that he's, even whether they get promoted or not, he's not going to be joining them. So,
right.
This is the bet he made, and he'll get another loan out there somewhere, because nobody's going to pay $12 million for Aronson.
But the dark Brendan we saw for the last 6 out of the 7 games at Union Berlin is what we need to see going forward, frankly. And, it was like he was triggered by not being called up to the U.S. men's national team. trigger.
Yeah, and maybe he needed that a little bit, right? Like,
Yes.
Brendan was one of those guys that people started speaking about him when he broke through. Like he was Raina or Pulisic, and he was just always kind of there. There was because there wasn't a lot of other backup depth options, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he was always just kind of there, but he was never really that great. And so maybe he kind of thought like, yeah, I'm one of the team. And you know, this has humbled him a little bit. And now he's like, shit, I'm going to get like overtaken here if I don't do something.
Yes, Dark Brendan, Serge, is the term we have for the Brendan that doesn't fall down and roll in the grass every 3 minutes.
He's the Brendan we deserve and want.
Yes. It's the Brendan who is focused and fierce and even, may I say, angry on the field.
We need angry Brendan.
Yes.
We don't need boy band Brendan.
Yeah. Nope. Wasn't good. Okay, what do we got next? Brett, by the way, I got to go pee. I'll be right back.
All right.
So I'll let you and Pete start this.
Blackburn Rovers have recently traveled to the U.S. to reignite talks with Duncan Maguire. At least they didn't ship him, try to get him to fly over to the U.K. again, right?
Yeah.
What an awkward moment that was. It looks like he got some interest in Poland as well, but don't go to Poland. Why would you bother? Yeah, so it looks like Blackburn is still interested, and they'll continue to pursue.
I don't really get the Duncan Maguire hype. I'm just going to say it.
But you say you don't get it?
Yeah, I don't really get it.
His 45 minutes on Camp Cupcake did not impress me whatsoever.
He's never impressed me, even for Orlando. So I don't really. And Orlando's like Orlando.
He's young. He's 20. He's 22, and he bagged some goals. So
they got 13 goals, but we've seen Ferreira get like 25 goal contributions the year he stumped it up at a World Cup. So I don't really get the Duncan. I think he's a big, hulking. You know, I think the same reason people like Daryl Dike is that like Americans, we love our athletes. If you're a big, hulking, thumping, lumbering guy, we're like, yeah, there's nothing more American than a big dude running into Brits. But I just don't. This guy has no technique at all. I don't see it with Duncan Maguire. I just don't. I don't think this guy's ever going to be a serious USMNT player. But I hope he gets his move to Blackburn because I feel bad that it kind of got sunk at the last minute.
I agree with you that I don't know if he's going to be a U.S. men's national team player. That's very unclear at this point. But I will say, at least since I am so old, that I have watched players just as technically ungifted and whatever end up in the old English first division and even the Premier League, who just were good in the box and just scored shit like ridiculously, always were in the right spot. So if he can become that kind of poacher, you might not need to be the most technical player in the world. It's possible. It's rare. I don't think he's going to turn into that, but it's possible he could. He's just a guy who's just good at scoring, and that's all he's good at. And if you're good at that, you might make it. But it's as you were pointing out, probably not very probable. Not very probable.
So I'll say this. You're right that there were guys like just big hulking, Peter Crouch types.
Yeah.
I think that's changed in England. Now more than ever, strikers have to get involved in the game. And there's very little room for a guy who's just like in the right spot at the right time. That's my personal opinion.
No, I think you're right. But I do think, if he could, okay, I'll give you one aspect he could improve that would totally change everything about him. Hold up play. He's not bad at it. He's not great at it. But if he could move from good to great on hold up play and dispersing the ball and getting in the box and doing what he usually does, which is you get him the ball, he'll score, at least in MLS. If he could do that, those are like two easy things you could do. Like Brian McBride did it. That could make you a solid championship player. Maybe not a U.S. men's national team player, but of course, if you do it enough and you score like 20 goals in the season for Blackburn, if he ends up going there, then you kind of have to like be like, okay, well, maybe I'll think about it. I'll think about them. So anyhow, I've just seen so many what I thought, like Brian McBride. You guys are younger than me, but Brian McBride, when he went to England and when he went to Fulham, which is my team, I thought, I mean, that's not going to really work out, is it? And then it did. And I was shocked. But then the thing that Brian always pointed out before he became a moron recently was that he was like, I knew my limitations as a player. I wasn't going to dribble by anybody. There's a great interview from like 10 years ago, 15 years ago that he gave. It's like, I'm not dribbling past anybody. So what all I did was focus on is when the ball came to me with my back to goal, I figured out who's the guy I got to get the ball to next, and then get my ass in the box and get my head on the ball, or get whatever limb, my penis, whatever it was. I got to get it on the ball and get it in the goal. So there's that. I don't know if those players exist anymore. Maybe more of them should, because
is Artist still playing?
There seems to be a real shrinking of the center forward position these days.
So you're in there. So apparently Brian Reynolds and Griffin Yao are garnering club interest out of the Olympics. This is the equivalent of saying clubs are keeping an eye on him.
Also, sources close to both players. I mean, like an agent's all. I like both of these kids. I hope they do well.
Me too. But
the minute you're like, and I know some of the people at SBI, it's like, oh, I got to have a call with so and so's agent. Bitch, no one cares.
Exactly.
No, it's just like, oh, their agent said there's interest. Like that's new. It's like, yeah, of course, their agent's not going to say nobody wants my player.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they're actually right in this case, because they are. I'm sure there's interest. They can both be above the Belgian level.
There's more of a branch out, and maybe SBI broke out into this in the actual article itself. But apparently, clubs from England, France, and Turkey are all eyeing a move for Brian Reynolds. Hull City is one of the multiple English clubs that have sent scouts to watch him. A League One club has also approached Westerlo.
Come on, did you watch Reynolds this season? Come on, he's not ready for that. Not for League One.
He needs to start something, man. He's just start making some moves at this point.
And Turkey, I mean, nobody watches that.
That's the new hotness for all American players at this point.
I mean, I would rather see him in the championship than in Ligue 1, because I think the championship's more his level, personally. But even that might be a step too far. I don't know, man. It's so hard to like judge Brian Reynolds these days. I'm so curious what he looks like in the Olympics.
If Aarons could play for Norwich in the Premier League, I think Reynolds can play for any team in the championship at that point.
Oh yeah, you think that, but then Cannon went to QPR and played like 6 games all season. So
yeah. I'm just poking fun the fact that there are still some bad right backs out there in the championship. So
that is true. That is true.
BMR, Derek, watch the Turkish leagues. Listen, I have in years past. I don't have a way to watch the Turkish leagues. All I can tell you is that the teams of the past, like Fenerbahce, Besiktas, and Galatasaray, etc., are just not what they used to be in the Champions League. They used to be like really critical, competitive teams, and they're just not right now. I'm not saying Turkey's shit at all. Not saying that at all. It's just, if you're going to go play for Ankara or Antalyaspor, you might get buried. Like no one might watch that.
Yeah, like Eric Palmer Brown going to Greece.
Right. Or who's the other guy in Greece that nobody even thinks about anymore? The former center midfielder who plays for Gianna.
Emerson Heineman?
No, he's in the USL. God damn it, Brett, help me out with my memory.
Greece, an American midfielder in Greece?
Yes.
Hold on, give me a few seconds to look at the chat. We'll come up with it.
I thought Brett
Discarud?
No, not Discarud.
Alfredo Morales?
No.
Yeah. No. Not De La Fuentes. He's back with Marseille.
You guys are not helping me out at all. All right.
The only American I know in Greece is Eric Palmer Brown.
Even Kevin Paulette said mix.
Gianna, Gianna. That's the team he plays for in the first division of Greece. He used to be sometimes a player for us in the center midfield in the national team. Not Kenny Safe.
Kenny Safe.
No.
Striker. Anyways.
By the way, Scuffed had the biggest boner for Kenny Safe I've ever seen in my life.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Why? Very weird.
I don't know. I never understood the Kenny Safe
I
love.
passed on Tompkinson. We've already talked about him.
No, I mean, I brought him up before on the show on the midweek report and the weekend report, and people are like, oh, I didn't even know he was still playing. It starts with an S. I can only tell you
An
that.
S.
Yes.
Is he like an older guy or a younger guy?
Sanko!
Oh my God. Freiburg alumni.
Yep. He left Gianna. Oh, he plays for Lamia now. Okay, my bad.
You know that, remember when Jurgen Klinsmann called him up for a friendly against Switzerland and was like, this Caleb Stanko guy is going to be huge. 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 That's
the problem with picking some of these youth players and focusing so heavily on them.
I wonder if Trump and Klinsmann are friends because they kind of have the same sort of. It's going to be huge.
All of a sudden, Klinsmann becomes his running mate.
Trump just doesn't talk through his nose.
I don't think he can. He's not American born. But anyhow, it'd be fun. Go to stepping on the toes, as you say. All right. Hoffenheim. We already said this like 2 shows ago. Have confirmed John Brooks will officially leave the club at the end of the season. Brooks will be a free agent in summer. Listen, let's stop talking about John Brooks. He is done. He will never play for the U.S. men's national team ever again. And we've said it here 1,000 times. It's over, people. Let's not even bring him up.
Brooks to MLS. We got Brooks to Wrexham. That'd be an interesting one, right? I mean, you have to take a massive pay cut, but...
What's that, Pete?
I don't think he would go to Wrexham.
I don't think so either.
Depends
Brooks
on what
Indy 11
they paid him, but yeah. Brooks is all about the monies. Let's be really honest.
Brooks to Arsenal.
All right. Yeah, I mean, listen. It's amazing to me when any of these mainstream motherfuckers still don't understand that. I mean, we had Meg on the show. We had other people on the show. We've had inside information. We broke the fucking story. We said what happened at halftime in Honduras. We broke it. We broke the story. Berhalter's never calling that mother back up again. Ever.
Nope.
He lost his shit at halftime. He threw shit at Berhalter. It's not going to have a guy like that in the locker room. It's just not going to happen. And it's like, could they have made up? Sure. If Berhalter had a manly marble in his nutsack, sure. They could have sat down and
fair.
Go ahead.
How many times have one of us wanted to throw something at Gregg Berhalter? Like, imagine being in that room.
We don't fault Brooks. We're just saying that's why he's not going to play for us.
Right. But I'm just saying, imagine if the slide is like, John Brooks was, no, I don't know why he's Klinsmann said. John Brooks. At halftime, he's like, John, you're the worst player on this team, John. Can we hear you say boom and woof at the same time so we don't sub you off? John was like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm done. I go back to Hoffenheim or wherever he was back then.
Wolfsburg. Yeah.
I mean, when he got pulled off at halftime versus Honduras, from all, and we've said this so many times on the show, I feel like I'm just repeating myself, but he threw a fucking fit in front of the whole team in Gregg's face, threw his fucking shoe across the room and a lot. I mean, listen, he lost his shit. The problem with Gregg is he can't deal with that. No. That's too much.
So I think that's
why you almost threatened to send Gio home for the crime of walking.
Yeah, not running enough. I mean, I think Gregg need to accept some blame there because he did come out with the strangest fucking lineup that caused all that issue. But it is what it is.
Yeah, and look, John wasn't blameless on that goal, right?
No, he wasn't.
He got beat, and he was trotting back to cover. We all acknowledged this many times, but the crime doesn't really fit the punishment if that's all he did.
Right, no, that wasn't all he did. I mean, I'm not we're not naming our sources here. Obviously, we can't do that. But I mean, we broke it 2.5 years ago, Pat. We broke that story. And it took Jimmy Conrad another year to go, yeah, Derek, you were right. My bad. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like, okay, I guess we're independent media, so we're not reliable. We're just making shit up. Like, there has been literally nothing on this show that we have ever made up that we have broke. Nothing. Absolutely zero, including the Indy 11 shit.
Including Miazga kicking Berhalter's dog. Allegedly.
Oh, okay.
That was 100% factual.
That was a joke. All right.
And what comes out later is that the only reason he did it is because he found out about Gregg kicking his wife. Oh, shit! Life imitates art.
All right. A purchase of Jadon Sancho is unlikely to materialize for Dortmund. No shit. Really? As things stand, Manchester United cannot and do not want to make a big loss on the player after spending $585 billion on the Euros on him. Yeah. I don't know why we're covering this.
The reason I'm covering this is because
Gio.
Raina is heading back to Dortmund. You lose Sancho, who's not going to be back. Marco's not coming back.
Good.
We get a new manager. Is it possible?
Do we?
Yeah. I mean, that's rumors. That's the talk. Who knows? If we don't, then that's assuming the issue. We'll see what happens. Assuming they get a new manager. Big question at that point is, would Dortmund, if they want to, would they be able to try to convince Gio to stay?
No,
or is he going to continue to move on?
No, I think he'll probably stay next season.
I am so confused because there have been times where I've questioned my own Gio love. I might be one of Gio's biggest fans, right? And yet I don't understand what I am seeing in him that so many other managers are not seeing, right? Sure, Nottingham Forest didn't work out for lots of reasons, but it's like Forest and Terzic, right? So it's like that's two managers who were like, nah, this kid can't start. And at first I was like, well, maybe it's his defensive, work rate, right? Maybe that's the issue because that's really all you can fault Gio for when he plays. When he plays, the guy's a maestro in midfield.
Yep.
But then even at Forest, he was defending well, I thought. He'd lose the ball, he'd be sprinting back defending.
Absolutely.
Like, okay, well, he does seem to have worked on his defending, so why are they not? I don't know, man.
Well,
part of me wants him to go there, get his head down, work hard, and become their starting 10. If Terzic is still there, that may not happen, period.
No.
We
know from both coaches why they don't necessarily rate Gio. With Terzic, he flat out stated that it was because of his he's a defensive liability in his system.
Not anymore.
Well, that's what he said. That's the reason why he wasn't playing him consistently
at the time. Yep, I agree.
And then with Nuno, somebody close to Nuno, and I forgot what article we pulled this out of, said that Nuno rated players with EPL experience over Gio. They said that he worked hard at practice and and he's a good kid, but Nuno just rated players with EPL experience.
No, which is fair, right? That guy's there on loan. He never really wanted him in the first place. It was foisted on him by the agent.
Right.
So it's like, sure, but now Gio, and nobody defends Gio like me, but Gio needs to do something next season. Right?
I agree.
We can't keep giving him a pass.
No, I agree. And you say nobody defends Gio like you, but I'd say I'd be right there. Right behind your buttocks, Pete. Not with my cock out or anything, but I'd be right there behind you supporting Gio because I really don't. And these people that keep pumping the horse shit that this is some sort of attitude issue or a lazy player in practice. I'm sick of hearing that because that's just something people are creating out of thin air. There was no evidence of that. Like in the press, in the media, like if a player is lazy, their managers will leak it to other people to leak it to the press. They'll say, this guy's not working hard enough. He's a lazy player. Never been said. Outside of Gregg. Yeah. Gregg was the only one who said that. That's it.
The man is a fundamentally unreliable narrator, okay?
Yes. I mean,
it's all based off of one incident, and that's it.
Right. And by the way, while we're breaking news, talking about sources, Tack and I have had a source who was there tell us that when Gio apologized for whatever he was made to apologize for, walking in training or not getting, like half the players actually didn't know what he was talking about.
Any idea what he was
No, like they were like, wait, what happened? Like that's how minuscule of an issue it was.
No, you're totally, I'm sure you got a leak from somewhere. We got the same kind of leak, but yeah, same thing. It's like, now, like half the team had no fucking clue why he was apologizing in the first place.
Right. It was for Gregg's softiosis ego that, like he didn't do exactly what he wanted, or maybe he didn't. And Gregg was the one that everyone forgets this. Gregg started the fucking problem in the first place by telling him that he was going to have a limited role.
Correct.
So he completely demotivated our brightest young player and was like, wait, so no matter what I do, I'm fucked?
Yeah.
Fuck this guy.
Yeah. And it's a guy you've considered an uncle your whole life.
Right.
Right? This is personal now. This guy who's been your uncle, whatever, part of your family, is telling you, yeah, you're not going to have a big spot here. You're probably going to play a very secondary role. You may not play that much. So just deal with it. I mean, yeah, you don't tell somebody that going into a World Cup. You say, listen, a couple games, you might not start right away, but, there's probably some minutes for you. So
especially a guy who was literally the second best attacker on the team.
Right.
Right. It's not like he told this to Roldan, right? He told this to Gio Reyna, who was you could really only argue Pulisic is better than him.
Yeah, Roldan should have known it from the start. But.
So Roldan sounds like he did, to his credit. His credit, right? Like he goes there and he does his thing.
I'm just happy to be here
on a World Cup roster.
Well, the players that ended up being the biggest critics, or actually leaked critics of him during that supposed moment, Gregg apparently got Roldan and Zimmerman and whoever else, MLS player, to confront Raina behind the scenes. And Raina's like, well, what am I doing? And I guess, yeah, maybe he slacked off on a game against that Saudi Arabian team or whatever it was. But still, you cannot use that and indict Raina for his time at Dortmund or Nottingham Forest. Two totally different situations where, believe me, and we've talked about this before, you're Julian Green. When Julian Green was loaned to Stuttgart, that manager hammered him in the press. He's lazy. He doesn't play hard, blah, 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 when he was very young. If you're a lazy-ass player, like Conrad has been at several teams, or Sebastian Soto, people will hammer you for having a bad attitude or being lazy.
Yeah.
That shit gets leaked, period. Never been leaked about Raina.
No, it's so phenomenal. And by the way, getting Yedlin and Roldan or whoever to confront Gio about his is like me. I'm on a movie with Meryl Streep and I have two lines in one scene, and they're like, I'm taking Meryl Streep to task about her acting skills and her commitment to the role. It's like, shut the fuck up, Pete. You can't tie her tennis shoes. You know what I mean? Like, what are we even saying?
You didn't read the script. What?
It's just like, that was such a clusterfuck. And we could have had such a better world. Like, that kind of ruined the aftermath. I mean, the World Cup was not great. Whatever anyone wants to tell you, it was not a good World Cup. I don't care what people say. I will never admit, that was a good World Cup. But it could have been better if we had Gio there. It really could have. Because you know what? We could have beat England, I believe. I believe we get, even at the very end, Gio wins that free kick. That's a scorable free kick. And I'm like, oh my God, a 93rd minute Giovanni Reina free kick. We've seen him hit those. Yeah. And Gregg Berhalter tells him to pass it sideways and take it into the corner. Of course, Gio's not going to not do. Like, what if we beat England? Now we're facing Senegal in the quarterfinal in the second round instead of the Netherlands. And Senegal's more beatable, right? So maybe we could have gone to a quarterfinal. I just can't even start.
No, you're totally right about all of that. And so anybody who thought that like Gregg overachieved at the World Cup needs to reassess that. That's ridiculous.
Bare minimum, Gregg. That's all he did.
Brett.
So real quickly here, but you guys didn't know that team of the season in Holland incorporated a bunch of PSV players, like a ton of them.
Like all of them. It's all 500 and AZ.
Who's surprised?
Yeah,
that the team not only won the league, but had one, maybe 2 losses, dominated the team of the year. Just something fun to laugh at, really.
Yeah, Dust was amazing all season, honestly. So was Tillman. So, it's not the Bundesliga, but it's up there. It's worth noticing. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Fabrizio Romano says Thiago Motta to Juventus. Deal sealed and set to be announced soon. Here we go, confirmed. The manager's informed Bologna of his decision to leave the club after the fantastic season as expected. Thiago will now sign as new Juventus head coach until 2027. I think it doesn't really matter. I think McKenna's probably leaving, Brett.
Well, no, yeah, this is just leading into this. So it's, I guess when you get that offer, you're going to take it regardless. But he just, brought Bologna up to third place in their first Champions League spot ever. And then all of a sudden he's bouncing to Juventus, which, again, they come in knocking, man. I guess you can't really turn that down.
He played terrorist ball, so.
Who, Motta? Or Allegri?
Allegri.
Or yes. Okay. Nobody even mentioned Allegri's name, though. I'm kind of confused when you said that, though.
No, I'm just saying that's why Motta's going there.
Oh, I know that. I'm just saying I'm kind of surprised that he immediately jumped ship from Bologna. So, but again, Juve come knocking, you're going to answer the phone. So
there's only so many There's only so many bologna sandwiches you could eat.
I was waiting for that. I was like, when is the bologna sandwich coming from Derek?
So here it is about Wes, and basically they talked to Juventus. He talked to Juventus, or his agent talked to Juventus, and it looks like they're going to sell him if they get a really good deal. Well, of course, they're always going to sell him if they're going to get a real good deal.
Pete,
this is the news.
I don't think they're going to get a really good deal. Do you?
It's hard to know with Weston because he stated he wants to stay and he's enjoying it and he's negotiating. They also wanted to sell him last summer. Remember,
every year they've tried to sell him.
They've tried to sell him, but then he goes and has a really good season for them. I think there's dissatisfaction within Juve with McKenna's professionalism. And the fact that he could still have a very good season when we all know McKenna is not the most professional. I mean, look, even when I talk to, what's his name? Why am I so bad with people's names these days? The defender, the LAFC, to Chiellini about this, right? I was like, what do you think of McKenna? Fantastic, very nice, or happy. And he's like, of course, for him, professional, has to maybe be some more fitness, like everything dancing around saying he's fat, this has been a problem that was in the Juve documentary for the longest time. So I feel like they feel like he's not really 100% committed to being the best player he can be. And for them, that's not good enough at Juve. Look, it's hard to argue with 10 assists this season. So I'm just so curious to how this is gonna play out.
He seemed to thin out this season too. He wasn't the pudgier Leeds guy we saw before.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't.
So
there was a moment where he got injured for a couple of games, and then he puffed up a little bit. So I just think if he's not necessarily training consistently.
But that's a shoulder injury, for Christ's sake. You shouldn't puff up for that.
I'm not saying.
Well, I think it's more that if you have a shoulder injury and then you're not training, and you're eating, you know what I mean? 29 was the one who told us he has ranch with every meal. That's a professional player. I don't know.
The good old days when the players would come off the pitch, eat a cheeseburger, drink a beer, and smoke a cigarette.
Yeah.
Yes, Socrates smoked 2 packs a day.
Yeah. Well, the first thing Alex Ferguson did when he went to Manchester United was ban not drinking. He banned binge drinking the night before games. Yeah. He had Steve Bruce in his midfield. Ex-Birmingham City manager. And he was like, You got to start having an absolute banger like 2 nights before the game. You're going out, you're getting absolutely hammered on a bender, and we're playing in 4 hours.
Johan Cruyff smoked 2 packs a day.
Yeah.
True shit. In the old days, Socrates, as they called him in Brazil, you know, they could get away with that somehow. I personally couldn't. I don't know how that's possible, but okay. I mean, there's not as much running as people think there is in soccer in certain positions, but smoking 2 packs a day, no, that certainly cannot help you. And of course, I think Socrates died of lung cancer, I believe, but and I probably will too. So that's all. Not to get too grim. All right, Brett, are we actually getting to the real topic?
We are.
Here?
We're into that topic now.
Holy Christ.
We're getting into Copa. Pete, this is the typical show for us. Our final topic hits right around the 2.5 hour marker.
20 minutes left. All right.
Well, so
poor Pete. I feel bad for him. Brett, you did this, by the way. You could have skipped forward, but you didn't.
No, I went through the effort of getting all those topics pulled out. It's not my fault that you like to ramble.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's my fault.
Your fault.
Pete's looking his dick.
All right, so we're talking about Copa here, guys.
Wondering why
Doug McIntyre was on State of the Union with Mossy, and they talked about the starting 11. So I just want to see what his starting 11 is. And Pete, we do have your 11 that you'd play.
Yeah,
hold up as well. So we'll talk about that just after we go through this.
The starting lineup, I think that Gregg is going to go with. I'll stick with a 4-3-3. We've got Matt Turner in goal, which Berhalter essentially confirmed earlier. Jedi Robinson at left back, Chris Richards and Miles Robinson in the middle. I do think Tim Weah, when you talk about a like-for-like replacement for Serginho Dest, I think Weah gives you that, and he's also gotten some really good experience playing a similar position with Juventus this year. Right, the 3 in the middle, again, I think.
I don't think they're going to ding us or anything for
hold
sure,
on.
But let's pause here.
Who were the 2 center backs?
Miles Robinson and Chris Richards.
No, he's wrong already. We haven't even gotten started. There's no way Tim Ream's not a starter on this center back stuff. There's just no way. He's starting.
Well, I mean, how many starting 11s did we go over last show where they had CCV instead of Robinson? So it's not out of the question to say that some people are going to be like, well, Ream hasn't played in so long that I don't think he's going to be in our starting 11.
Gregg's a total moron, but there is no way he's not starting.
I actually disagree with you. I would not be surprised if he starts Miles. He started Miles against Jamaica.
Oh, God, help me. Yeah, you're probably. Oh, God, you're probably right.
Like, it's not. I don't think it's like. I don't even have like the odds are probably not like in favor of Miles, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, this is depressing already.
Let's see what else he says.
I think it's Adams if he's healthy, Weston McKennie, who's an absolute lock, and I do think Gio Reyna's in that spot over Yunus Musa. And then forwards, let's take Berhalter at his word. If you're moving Tim Weah back, there's now a spot open in the right wing. I think he puts Christian Pulisic in that spot. Christian's played much of his season at Milan there. He usually plays the opposite side for the U.S., but he's been on the right more so for Milan. Haji Wright on the left, and Josh Sargent up.
Oh, I like the Josh Sargent thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not horrible.
It's pretty close to what we predicted, Derek. I mean, minus, obviously, we had Ream and Richards. And then I don't necessarily think Weah's getting pushed back, but you can make the argument one way or another.
Yeah, I don't think Gregg will do that. It's too uncomfortable for him, Pete.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Scally.
Do you?
I think so. I mean, when they asked him about it in the press conference, he was like, yeah, well, obviously we know Scally's a like for like. And then you can also do that. So with Gregg, you have to kind of read betwixt the lines, but you don't have to because, you know, if he says Joe Scally, I think it's going to be Joe Scally.
Here's the problem, Pete. After saying that, he named the whole half of the team.
Yeah.
He He said, "Oh, and then we got 3 center midfielders. We got Wea, and we got 2 center backs who can play the same position." It's like, okay.
Yeah, then someone should have been like, then why the fuck did you call up Shaq Moore since you just named 94 players who can play right back?
Absolutely agree. But to me, what that means is, and this is not going to be surprising to anybody who has mind melded with Gregg. Gregg is not real comfortable, or he's not a Joe Scally guy. He doesn't really like Joe Scally. He's not a fan of Joe Scally. I mean, for various reasons. You could say it's the Joe Scally interviews or whatever you want, but Joe Scally isn't comfortable with Gregg Berhalter either. I think Joe Scally's not going to start right back. I just feel it in my bones. I really do.
I think he's gonna weigh out whether or not he's gonna start Scally in Copa with these upcoming friendlies.
Yeah, the friendlies.
How he performs there, I think is going to be the vital thing. I don't necessarily think it's going to be Wea. I know Derek had predicted it's going to be Musa.
It's going to be Musa,
but I also see him possibly playing McKenna there too, because McKenna was the backup for Scally in that match.
You can't lose Musa in the midfield.
McKenna, you mean?
You can't, but remember, it's Gregg.
Yeah, I know.
Like, nothing would surprise me with Gregg. If he put Shaq Moore at right wing, it wouldn't surprise me.
Wow. I think he'd be risking a lot if he did that.
I mean, obviously, I'm exaggerating for comedic effect, but it's
sure. But
you're like, yeah, you're right. Obviously, that doesn't seem like the right decision to put McKenna at right back. I agree. But it is Gregg.
I mean,
and I agree with Derek in the sense that with Musa going to the right back over McKenna, because in my opinion, that'd be the lesser of 2 evils of being removed from the midfield, quite frankly.
I think so.
But I think when it comes to Gregg, and we saw recently, is I think McKenna is probably going to be the backup to Scally, quite frankly. But we'll see if that happens or not.
I think Scally is on
balls. Don't worry
Scally's been on Gregg's shit list for a long time.
Yeah.
And the only time he's got to play is when, it's shit minutes. And, or otherwise, there was another situation that came up. So I don't think Gregg's a big fan of Joe Scally, and I don't think Joe Scally's a big fan of Gregg. So otherwise, there is no way in the presser that Gregg's talking about everyone and their mother being eligible to play right back. Because if I'm Joe Scally hearing that, I'm like, holy shit. In the presser, he just said half the team can play my position. That is not good for Joe Scally. I think Joe Scally is like the last choice Gregg wants to make. He wants to keep everything the same. This is my belief. Pete, you're welcome to destroy this. I think Gregg wants to keep everything exactly the same in a 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3 sort of setup. He wants Wea outright. He wants Pulisic out left as starting. The center forward, I mean, I'd like Sargent, but I think he'll probably pick Balogun. I think he's just going to figure out who's the odd guy out I can use at right back who can do some of the things Des does. Not all of them, but some of them. And that is Musa. And I think he's going to do it because Musa's going to be left out of that. If you pick a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3 that includes Raina, that's McKenna and Adams, if Adams is healthy. That leaves Musa out of the game. How do you get Musa on the field? You put him out right. That's my theory.
Honestly, I don't hate, actually. Because Musa's great. What do we know about Musa? He's great on the dribble.
Yep.
And he's terribly awful in the final third, right?
Yep.
We know
Yep.
So why not put him at right back and have him dribble? You know what I mean? Just like, sure. Like, I'd rather, in some ways, I would like to at least see it tried. Why not? I mean,
yeah.
Course,
well, no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying, of course, my true opinion about what I think we should do is right there.
Yes, I know. We're going to get to that. The only reason I said what I said was I am mind melding with Gregg. Like, that's painful to do.
Wait. Say it one more time.
I am mind melding with Gregg.
Boom.
Like in the way
I haven't heard one boom yet, Derek.
In the way Spock did, right? Spock did with whomever. He mind melded many times on that show at Star Trek. But when you mind meld and you're trying to get into Gregg's mind, my understanding of Gregg is I really don't want to change anything. I want to do the same thing I'm doing. And I really just want to fill out that right back spot with somebody else. That doesn't change anything for the rest of the guys. I want everything to work the way it's working for me all the time and in all the games I've been setting up here. And since I came back from my, my porn fest or whatever he was doing in the meantime. I think he really is that conservative. I really don't think he wants to budge an inch. And if he can replace Scally in some way with Musa and get by, I think he'll do it. It's my theory.
Went through that entire speech with your eyes closed. You're really feeling it, Derek.
I was. I almost came in my pants.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's talk about your 11 here, Pete.
Pete, on this lineup, got to ask you, and I think the great thing about this when you put it out, unlike Stace, well, I guess Stu Holden kind of said it, but not as much as you did. This is what I would do. You're not trying to mind meld with Gregg here. You're just saying, this is what I would do.
Yeah, this is my if I were king lineup.
Right.
And the issue that mostly people tell me is wrong with this lineup, although a lot of people seem to like it, is that we cannot play a back three, or that we shouldn't play a back three because we lose an attacker, which is such a kindergarten way of looking at the game. No, really, seriously, I've heard this argument. If we play a back three, it takes an attacker off the field. We want as many attackers on the field as possible. Then let's put 11 strikers on the field, since that's clearly the way to success. No. It's about finding a good balance between attack and defense, putting your key players in positions where they can be most effective, and also accommodating injuries and the ability to switch things up. I think a 3-4-2-1 with a Pulisic and Raina are two most talented players by far, and it's not close. Some people will say McKenna is up there. I disagree. I think he's a very good supporting cast, but you give them the freedom to roam. They can drift wide. They can come inside. They can play off of Balogun. So that's that. A-Rob and Weah are both wingbacks. Neither of them's really a proper fullback, in my opinion, although A-Rob actually is. No, but Weah is not. He's not a right back. He's also not really a winger at a high level. He's probably best a wingback. McKenna is that box-to-box guy. He's goal dangerous. He's going to work his butt off. He's going to be a real engine in midfield. And Johnny is able to build out of the back, so you don't need Giovanni Reina literally 2 inches from Tim Ream's nose to get the ball, because Tyler Adams can't pass the ball to save his life. Furthermore, you have 3 competent center backs. I have Ream in the middle, which surprised some people because I don't want Ream isolated in a wide area 1v1 in the channel. So I have him centrally, plus his distribution will be very, very useful there. And then CCV on the right and Richards on the left, because Richards is more experienced playing on the left.
Go ahead, Brett.
I was going to say, what's interesting about doing this lineup right here, and you talk about, well, we're losing an offensive player. Who we're losing in this situation, we're basically taking out an injured Dest and throwing in a center back.
Right.
Because there's no difference between this lineup and what we normally play, outside the fact that there's 3 center backs. So it's not like we're losing any offensive. We're not losing an offensive game because we don't have Dest to begin with.
Yeah.
And our options are putting either Scally, who's not an offensive threat, or putting Musa, who's played some right back or whatever, and you mix it up a little bit there.
Well, plus our big issue at the World Cup was our fullbacks, aka Gregg's superheroes, getting so high up the field that in transitions, where did a lot of our goals come from? Wide areas, right? Mm-hmm. And so with this, what happens is A-Rob and Weah have a lot more freedom to attack because we have a back 3 and we have Johnny sitting in front of them. So we have a little bit more defensive coverage.
So if Adams is healthy, Okay, now we're getting to realism. Here's the thing, though.
Yeah.
And this is why Brett and I stopped doing these lineups, because honestly, we're like, well, we can put out whatever, lineup we want. It doesn't matter. So we started like trying to mind meld with Gregg and doing our best to put out what we thought would be the most realistic thing. Did that come into your mind while you're doing this? Because people rely on you for like information. Like if people watch this, they might say, well, Pete, you don't really believe that's what's going to really happen. Right?
No, none of this is even remotely close to anything Gregg has even dreamed about.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is all me. This is my if I were king lineup, but Gregg's is going to be nothing like that.
Yeah.
So it's funny, Derek, because you're bringing up whether or not about Adams and being healthy, and that kind of takes us into another video here.
What?
Before you started talking about mind melding again.
Oh,
you started saying, well, if Tyler's healthy, and then you started saying, well, this is why we don't do the fairy tale lineups, because well, if he's healthy and this person's healthy, but that's not the problem,
No, you're right. You're right.
But I found it interesting because Doug talks about Tyler Adams and whether or not he's going to be ready for Copa in this clip.
Feel about his fitness heading into the summer. Do you think Tyler is a guy that could start and play 90 minutes any game the U.S. needed him to, or is there going to be a minutes restriction?
It's a great question, and we just don't know the answer. And to me, this is the biggest question facing.
If we don't know the answer, why didn't we ask Gregg?
No one asked Gregg.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Right? He's like, oh, that's a great question. I'm like, nobody asked him this in his presser.
Nope.
Should have been one.
Yeah, the U.S. team. Every time a roster is announced, we worry about who's the 23rd or 26th guy on the roster.
Shut your whore mouth, Doug.
What?
I hate that argument. I've really started to hate that argument. What was the scuffed topic I was getting into where he's like, I don't care about 18 and on in the roster or whatever it was. And I'm just like, well, first off, the 18 and on, right? Again, it writes itself. The 23-man roster more or less writes itself. When we get to the 26, we only have that 25th and 26th spot to really to argue and debate and talk about, because everybody else is already written in, because who's going to be called in or who should be called in. So when they're like, oh, I don't really care about this X spot from 18 and on, I was like, well, this is the most ridiculous concept of argument I've ever heard.
Also, this argument is not even about that anymore. It has become the proxy argument for defending MLS lifers on the team, because it's gotten so bad they realize they can't actively defend it now. They can't say, excuse me, Shaq Moore is great. So instead, they try to make you look stupid for wanting some accountability on your national team and instead of going, Shaq Moore is great, which they can't say, they go, yeah, I don't really care if he's there that much. No, that's bullshit. You are creaming your panties that your favorite MLS boy is there. So don't come at me with that argument. Bullshit.
Yeah,
and we're gonna talk about that very specific topic here after this video. But yeah, Derek, do you want to say there?
Well, I was just gonna say, if Adams is healthy, he's playing. The question is, how much is he playing? And if he is healthy, we're probably. I mean, obviously, this is Pete. This is your magical formation if it were you as manager. But yeah, I think we're staying as standard. I think Gregg's going to stay as absolutely standard as possible. I don't see him effing around much, because I don't think he wants another Honduras situation or whatever, even in the friendlies, because if we lose friendlies, that looks bad on Gregg. Gregg hates looking bad, so he's going to be as conservative as hell. So, yeah, I don't think we're going to see a back three. I really don't. It's, it's an idea, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Who's the third string right back? None of that stuff is nearly as important as a very simple question. Can Tyler Adams play, and can he contribute? We know how important he is on and off the field. We saw what he did in the Nations League when he was on a minutes restriction, but I think it's hard to think that Tyler Adams is just magically going to suddenly be able to play 90 minutes starting with that first friendly and going on throughout the.
Okay, so he's not going to be a 90-minute player. There's no chance in hell. It's not going to happen. 45, 60 minutes off the bench as a sub.
The problem is, if you start Tyler Adams on a minutes restriction, then you're committing to a pre-planned sub regardless of how the game is going.
Yep.
So if somebody's on a minutes restriction, I don't think you can start them.
Well, I mean,
Right.
that's. I mean, he did it against Mexico.
Gregg
The problem with Jamaica in that sense is that obviously you can go into the extra time in the PKs at that point, and he came in the second half and he ran out of minutes, so he had to make another sub in that sense. Now, of course, we're not going to have that in the group stage by any means here. So I mean, technically speaking, he could be utilized as a sub. But I mean, wouldn't you hate to bring him in as a sub and God forbid he gets re-injured again because he's already coming in, kind of recovering from the same injury that he's had all year long? That's a tough question. I mean, do you just start him knowing that you're going to have to burn a sub anyways?
And this is why the absence of Maloney on this roster is the biggest oversight you could possibly make, because there is no other player who is a like-for-like destroyer like Adams. You can say Johnny can pull it, but Johnny's a 6/8. It's not the same thing. Like Maloney and Adams have radars. They are radar guys. Like they know where to be every moment of a game. And those kind of guys, you can, like the fact that Maloney is not on this roster and Timothy Tillman is on this roster and Shaq Moore it's repulsive. It's bad. It's the wrong thing.
Yeah. So it's great that you brought that up, Derek, because this is the topic that took off late in the day today.
Oh, it's Pete's friend.
All right, I retract what I said. He should go back to getting excited about adolescent boys.
So
no, this makes absolutely no sense. Like this is a brain dead take. I'm sorry, Marcus.
Yeah. Well, so the argument is, so he's hearing a lot of this. Why Tillman over Maloney? I don't think that was a decision. Adams and Johnny's are 6 in the roster. Musa can also play there. Tillman is a pure 8. The 8s are McKenna, who can also play right back. Musa, Luka, and Tillman. The 2 are not connected. It's a matter of how much coverage Berhalter felt he needed at 6 and 8. But the big argument there is that why would you bother saying that? Oh well, Musa can also play the 6 if Johnny and Adams can't. Well, why don't you just have an actual 6 played and keep Musa in the 8 talking point? The 8.
It's so dumb. It's so dumb. Musa can play the 6 against a bunkering team, maybe, but against a good team, he cannot play the lone 6. So you have one healthy 6, and that's Johnny. Meanwhile, Tim Tillman is a 10, not an 8. Let's be very honest here. So I don't know what Marcus is talking about.
Yeah.
Furthermore, even Marcus himself literally lists 3 guys who can play the 8 right there. Bam. And by the way, most of the time, Gregg has both Gio and Tillman playing like 8s anyways. So no, there was absolutely no reason for Tim Tillman. Marcus wants a job with an MLS team, scouting their adolescent boys, and that's why he's defending this MLS team. No, I'm sorry. That's true. I'm just going to start saying shit. I'm not going to hold back anymore because it's true. I've seen this happen with so many scouts, right? They come on my channel. I try to give them a little bit of a platform. I'm not saying this is necessarily what Marcus does. But then all of a sudden they change their tack completely and they're like always advocating for MLS guys. And then before you know it, boom, they're an academy, scouting player. So I just look, there's the most brain.
You should start charging. You should start charging, Pete.
Yeah, it's absurd. And then they block me on Twitter because I say things that they don't like. And it's like, hey, I put you on the radar. I put you on the No, I'm taking too much credit here. What I really mean is this is a terrible take. And I'm joking kind of about Marcus. I'm sure he's a lovely man.
You're like, come on my show and get an MLS job. I guarantee it.
This is a terrible take. There was no reason to bring Tim Tillman whatsoever. And Maloney should absolutely have been there over Tillman. Period.
And again, let's just say that you're an Timothy Tillman fan, and you think he deserves to be there. Well, if you're going to sit here and say, well, McKenna, who can also play right back, We know Weah is being touted as a potential right back.
Sure.
Why even include somebody like Mark McKenzie? Because we're already assuming that Miles is going to be there regardless. Because I know people are going to be like, get rid of Miles, but let's assume Miles is there regardless because it's Gregg. But you have McKenzie, and you have Shaq. Drop those two. You have Maloney, who can play the sixth, who can also play the center back. It's just like we're going to play the what if games. I mean, it's a stupid argument to make.
Yeah, I mean, this is the biggest oversight, obviously, and the fact that Gregg said in his presser that, I guess, and I quote, what I say, misses out because other guys are performing at a really high level. That's a joke. And it's also an oversight into the depth at the sixth position, frankly, and how the fact that Adams might be not 100% and you might need a backup for Adams, because there is the idea, and I love Johnny, but Johnny's not a destroyer. And Gregg likes to have a destroyer in front of the back four so the other two center midfielders, Raina, McKenna, can do what they can be free and run around and do what they got to do. You can't do that if Johnny's there because Johnny's not really a destroyer. He's a great 6 and 8/8, but he's not a destroyer. He's just not Maloney. And if you spent the time I have watching every Heidenheim game this season, watching Leonard Maloney do what he does, closing down lanes, being a 160 IQ player on the pitch, making Heidenheim raise to what they were, 8? 8. This is a village team. It's a made up of villagers. I mean, well, not the team, but the team itself is a village team. Don't tell me this guy hasn't performed his ass off this season. And you're going to say, yeah, fuck you. If you're Gregg, you're like, fuck you, Maloney. I'm going to call up the brother of the other guy who actually deserves to be on the team. But I'm going to call up his brother because they like to smoke weed together. Like, that's not a legit reason to call up Timothy Tillman or Shaq Moore for that. If we're going to go there.
And if Tyler Adams goes down injured in the first game and never plays again, then we're going to be wondering why the fuck wasn't Leonard Maloney here.
Well, right. Don't forget, Berhalter said another reason why Maloney wasn't included is that he was just recovering from an injury.
What a fucking clown.
That's a lie. He played 90 minutes last weekend.
But also, really, that's your big excuse while Tyler Adams hasn't played in 3 years?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Oh, my God.
We talked about this whenever we were covering that last show, and I'm just like, it's the same Rolodex almost that he had for Brooks. He's just like, oh, what's the excuse I can use this time? We're coming back from injury. There we go.
Well, the only difference is Maloney hasn't thrown a
shoe
at.
Yeah, I'm just saying he's got an excuse Rolodex is what I'm saying.
All right. Well, we got to let Pete go. This is getting late here. It's 3:08, 3 hours and 8 minutes. And Gregg, Gregg. No, not calling you Gregg, Pete.
I'm worried if I go bald, I'm going to look like Gregg. You know what I mean? Like, I'm worried I have one of those faces. If I lose a little weight, put on some tiny shorts, start kicking things, and lose my hair, people are going to be like, oh no.
Pete, how old are you?
It's there. I can see it.
37.
37. You're good. You're good to go.
I mean, for now.
No. You would have already started losing your hair.
Oh, really?
Honestly. Yeah, for sure. At 37, ask Brett. Yeah, you start losing your hair. Yeah. You're good to go, dude.
Early 20s.
Yeah, you're absolutely good to go. And I don't have my hair exposed. I do have hair. And
it may start thinning a little bit.
Yeah, I could use some thinning. This thing is a fucking nightmare, this mop.
No, it's perfect, dude. Enjoy that mop.
Yeah,
dude, it's so hard to manage it. It gets all over the place.
Yeah, it's my problem too, I think.
Oh, sure, Brett. Yes, it is. All right. Listen, if you don't know Pete, go watch him at 11Yanks. Go watch that show. Like I don't know. I've kind of had like this brotherly connection with Pete for almost 4 years now.
Yeah, you were the first people that messaged me after I started the channel, and you were very encouraging and like, this is great stuff. Keep it up. We'll put it on our website.
Yeah, let's be frank. Derek is more like a young uncle vibe, right? Not a brother.
Well, it's certainly not a stepsister's situation. So no Woody Allen going on here, but I realized talent.
Or P. Diddy's.
But I realized talent when I saw it, so I had to broadcast it even before Brett and I came back. And actually, Pete, you were inspiration for us to come back because we had been gone for 6 or 7 years from big soccer, and during the beer bug. I was like, Brett, why don't we just come back, man? Let's do it. Let's do it
plus
again.
there's the beer bug and the entire world shut down. What else are you gonna do? Start up a podcast?
Right. We were both stuck in our homes.
Thank God for COVID. You guys came back. Me and Tack came back. And between the four of us, not came back. We started our channels during COVID. And the four of us are basically the greatest thing to ever happen to humanity. So, was it worth it, right? How many millions of people died?
You're welcome, Earth.
So it's really cool because Tact is the sort of, I don't know how to describe Tact's approach, but you're like the sort of thoughtful. I'm not that Tact's not thoughtful. I'm just thinking you're kind of like the cerebral, but yet got the actor thing in it too. The actor sort of like you'll do the bits. That's kind of fun. I like that. And then not that Tack doesn't do poop jokes. He does do poop jokes.
And 69, don't forget those.
And the 69. Yeah. And then we're just clowns. So let's
we're the drunk relatives that embarrass everybody at Thanksgiving.
we all bring our unique personality to US soccer. You know what I mean? And it's fun. And then you had Sam and Jake. Jake's back now as well.
He is.
These kids, I really like these kids. American Ultras Talk. By the way, guys, if you haven't gone to American Ultras Talk yet and subscribe to them, do that because I think they're up and coming. They're young, but they're very sincere and they're very passionate and they know their stuff. So give them a sub if you want to help them out. They're almost at 1,000 subscribers.
Tack doesn't think I never said that, BMI. Come on, man. Do not cut that out of the show and make that a thing. Certain requests for boomers. Well, they're over 400 people watching right now, so it can't be too bad.
Our target audience is up there in the age.
I keep saying this. I'm not a fucking boomer. I'm Gen X. My parents are boomers, for Christ's sake.
You have to understand, Derek, anybody who's under 25, if you're above 50, you're all boomers.
I know.
You know what I mean?
It's not fair. I do want to give a shout out to Jake as well for his new show about Fabian Hertzler and breaking down the way Fabian Hertzler plays. I think it's a great show. I think he does a really good job of that. So I know it's really hard when you don't have a show and you come back and you've lost all of your followers because, that's the way YouTube.
It's creeps back. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the way YouTube works. So,
Jake just released a video asking if the 5-2-3 is the best for US and Copa.
Well, yeah. All right. Hey, I just want to say, man, thank you for coming on, Pete, for this full 3 hour and 13 minutes of total anal DP, because that's what this is. This is a long.
Anal, really?
It's been fun. And by the way, guys, keep in mind, when I come on this show, I'm talking to the people in the comments here. I understand that it's partially a comedy show, so I'm a little more unhinged. I crack jokes. Please don't take anything I said on this show too seriously. Just think of me as a Derek or a Brett, just a younger version.
Absolutely.
And
we're corrupting.
Don't take anything I say too seriously because I'm just trying to make you laugh.
Did anybody have a problem with what you said in the comments?
I don't know, but maybe somebody will. Whatever I said, guys, on this show, it's just comedy. It's just jokes.
It doesn't matter. Brett and I have not lost our jobs because of the show at all, and we're.
Oh, I'm not worried about losing my job.
No, you're not.
You can have it. What am I really gonna lose? But yeah, it's a comedy show, so I have fun with it more.
Yeah. Exactly. This is fun. Make sure you subscribe to 11Yanks if you haven't been there before. We want to thank Pete for coming on the show. This was the show I imagined we would have with Brett, because without Brett, let's face it, I'm flaccid. I'm a flaccid cock. Let's be really honest. That's what I am. I'm a flaccid cock.
PMR, where are you get that quote, man?
By your stepsister.
There's no amount of my stepsister hyping me up that could make it any more erect. So thank you, Brett, for putting this show together.
No, Brett's the GOAT.
Brett is the GOAT. People don't realize this, but Brett arranges all this shit. And without him, it's a moronic show. It's just me babbling. So thank you again. Go watch Pete at 11Yanks, and we will see you again on Monday, right? So enjoy the weekend. Have a great weekend, and we will see you soon. We love you. Fuck your stepsister. Bye.
That hurt.
Then what is this thing?
Gio should never play for U.S. men's national team again because of the action of his parents.
What an idiot! Oh!
What type of Muppet does this?
Muppets. Absolute Muppets.
I'm